tears glow. We'll sip our worries away, nice and slow. Your laughter ripples like sweet warm wine. In this jazzy sultry space you're mine. The saxophone croons a velvet tune, while melodies dance beneath the moon. We'll toast to moments both grand and small, in this hazy, lazy, jazz-touched hall. But let's sit together in the mellow night. We'll drink to love till the morning light. Every glass we raise a promise true. Here's to the magic in a drink with you. Your eyes, they sparkle with every click. Sweet rendezvous over a simple drink. We'll share our secrets in whispers low, just you and me where the jazz flows slow. The world outside fades into the mist, but here it's our own dreamy tryst. With each sip our worries drift away. Let's stay together till the break of day. So let's sit together in the mellow night. We'll drink to love till the morning light. Every glass we raise a promise true. Here's to the magic in a drink with you.
The following live stream has been approved for appropriate audiences. It may contain occasional strong language and may not be suitable for younger or more sensitive viewers. Viewer inebriation is advised, though not mandatory.
One day I shall come back. Yes, I shall come back. Until then, there must be no regrets, no tears, no anxieties. Just go forward in all your beliefs and prove to me that I am not mistaken in mine.
Yes, we all miss the Doctor. Not seen in this time frame since 2017. So tonight we're all stepping back into the TARDIS and returning to 1963 to talk about the very beginning, starting with the very first Doctor, William Hartnell. And then we'll talk about the clown and the dandy too. Top off your glasses, tell me what you're sipping on in the chat, and
allons-y.
Last Call is streamed before a live audience.
and I haven't even started drinking yet. How amazing is that? Well, I can't hear you. You can't hear me. It seems fair. Anyway, welcome, Vasalud. I'm so glad you are here tonight. It's been a brutal week. So let's sip together. What am I sipping on? As if you didn't already know.
Release the Kraken.
Release the Kraken! The Kraken!
Why is the rum always gone?
It just is. That's just the way it goes. But welcome. Yeah, it was gone. I literally had to duck out immediately after work today in order to get myself another handle of Kraken rum. So it's not gone now, but
And that is not all Kraken. That is also root beer.
Yes, it's Kraken and root beer. Yes, if this would be like half the handle, and by the end of the stream, I'd be dead. I mean, I can pretty much take alcohol, but even I have my limits. Let's be honest. But let's start bringing in the panel. Say hi, starting with my lovely, and there she is, lovely with K9, Netter of Netters Network. How you doing, my dear? And what are you sipping on?
I am doing really well. You can see me in this picture with my Doge K9.
Yes.
And I am sipping on a Netter's Nectar and
Great.
a secondary seltzer water raspberry.
There you go. There you go. Have you had a brutal week too?
Actually, it wasn't. Well, it started off because I was sick.
Yeah.
I started feeling better.
You took the day off on Monday, right?
No, I took half day on Monday. I took the whole day on Tuesday. Wednesday, I was feeling better. And today I felt really great, despite the fact I didn't really sleep well. I felt fantastic.
Of course,
morning.
you slept almost all day on Tuesday. It's amazing.
That's true.
How good sleep will help you heal.
I think I had some variant of the flu or something.
Yeah, like I said, if you do what Grandma always told you to do, it's amazing how well you can heal. But they can't monetize that. Brought to you by Pfizer. Anyway, let's get our other. Because I think I'm going to need a designated driver tonight. Let's get him in here. Age Boomer, how you doing, my friend? And what are you sipping on?
I got myself a lemonade from McDonald's.
From McDonald's.
Yes.
Is that the only thing you got at McDonald's?
That's all.
You literally stopped at the drive-thru at McDonald's just for a lemonade.
No, I got a Coke too.
You're two-fisting it. Oh my gosh.
Well, my sister got it for me, actually, if I'm being honest.
I'm missing the fortune cookie. Right. Where's the fortune cookie?
Yeah, no, we haven't heard a fortune from you in a long, long time. What's up?
Well, I don't. You want me to go? I might be able to fetch one. I'm going to mute myself. I'll be right back. How's that sound? Okay. Why don't you say hi to the chat? I'll go grab a fortune cookie.
I will go say hi to the chat. That's fine. He's crazy. Yes, he's right though. We should say hi to the chat. Starting with FKHC 2005, whom we lovingly refer to as Tim. He says, "Who's on first?" To which I respond, "What's on second?" I don't know. Third base. Connie Cleary, hail to the chat, and hail to Last Call with Troy Pacelli. Thank you so much. Birdwoman of YouTube, thank you so much. And Ruby Hoove, the incredibly generous. I'll tell you, you are such a great supporter of the channel. We get a giftie from her every single stream. She is just so wonderful, and that particular giftie goes to Logical Spark, who I just saw in the stream. Was that Sunday or last week? So welcome to membership, Logical Spark. So glad to see that you got that. That's really, really awesome. Oh, and then she goes and she also gives a $2 super chat just to tell us, gotta bounce. Have a good one, y'all. Ruby Hoove, you are good people. I really, really do appreciate you. You are aces. You really are. As is JPR PH1. Who's on first? What's on second? I don't know. Third base. And of course, he must be over on Netter's channel because he's dropping Netter's membership emojis, the smolder, the Netter's Network logo, is that a smile? And the retro cinema logo. Welcome. And someone's saying hi to Tim, but I didn't see a comment from Tim. If you are here, Tim, I can't bring up your
FKHC 2005. Tim?
Oh, I was thinking Tim Hayes. Yeah. Well, because usually people do the @ and that brings up their name. Yeah. So that's why I was thinking that. There we go. And Big Al of Big Al presents. Have a great stream, my friends. Films with Friends raid. Yes, they were watching, I believe it was Critters tonight. I hope you had fun. And of course, Evelyn Hampton. Good evening to you, Admiral. Yeah, Evelyn knows her Doctor Who. She went to the Doctor Who experience in the UK. Yes, and I can hear Curtis Selby singing Doctor Who, Doctor Who.
Are we calling whales now?
Well, yeah. No, that's Star Trek 3. Salute to you, deleted scenes. Welcome, my friend. Good to see you. And he says, like, share, subscribe, and become a channel member. Thank you so much, my friend. I think most everyone I've seen in the chat so far is a channel member. So this isn't a members only stream, but it kind of feels that way sometimes because you all are members. I love it. Except for Netter's Network. She's just my partner in life. And I love you too, my dear.
Well, I like to think I'm a member like in your life.
Yeah, lifetime member. Absolutely. Absolutely. And this is how you do it. When you want to say hail to everybody, you just list them all off.
Yeah.
And
my sweeties. Nope, I missed Darth Plato.
I just got to Darth Plato. The first Doctor in the 5 Doctors was not Hartnell. That's absolutely true. However, the thumbnail that I used was from the 3 Doctors, which was the 10th anniversary special, and that was Hartnell.
Tim has in the chat, they sent you an email. You can show it.
Oh,
so
okay.
Troy's going to pause and go look at the email.
I'm going to pause to check out my email. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. And I just got a commercial.
For some reason, ever since... Well, that is interesting. Let me open that in a new tab. And let me bring that up. Unless I am mistaken, well, let me share this with the chat, because otherwise they have no idea what I'm talking about. Entire screen that. I don't need sound.
Troy sounds like a werewolf. Really?
So it looks like this is... Well, let me remove... sorry. Thank you. Thank you so much for being here, Darth Plato, and welcome. So I just brought up FKHC 2005. Why is that built up again? So this is a... unless I'm mistaken, that's an actual police public call box on the street in the UK. There are still some left. I only know of about 1 or 2. But there you go. That's pretty cool. Did you take that picture yourself, like in person or whatever?
I took this photo back in London.
Oh, okay. Cool.
When I was there in November.
Oh, just last November. That is really, really cool. Is it still functional? Do they still use it for, calling the police and detaining people in?
Okay, now you gotta wait 20 seconds for the answer.
Well, yeah. Well, I gotta wait 15 seconds for him to hear me, and then another 15 seconds for him to respond. Absolutely true.
Yeah, he's responding on my channel, so.
The Doctor Who experience was worth the trip by itself. Yeah.
No, it doesn't work. It's just there.
Oh, okay. Well, still, it's pretty cool. Troy sounds like a werewolf. Is that an electronic thing, or is it just the timbre of my voice right now? Because, although I don't feel, at all grunky, I do feel like a little bit of dryness or whatever. And that's before I started drinking the Kraken, so I don't know. And I think I am now Werewolves of London. And his hair was absent. Okay. So yeah, let's go ahead and get into it. Doctor Who. Do we remember when we first started watching Doctor Who? Let's go around the horn, starting with Netter. First time you watched Doctor Who.
My first doctor was Tom Baker. And it was really weird because it would show up on Channel 11 here in Illinois. Because WTTW was the station. And the first doctor I ever saw was Tom Baker. And after they had done, I think, most of his episodes, they started kind of going backwards and showing the older doctors.
Yeah.
And then they kind of shot forward to Peter Davidson. So I saw them all out of order, but my first doctor was Tom Baker. And so he was my favorite because he was my first. Your first is usually your favorite. In my case, my second, meaning my second husband, is my favorite. But yeah, Tom Baker was wonderful. I loved seeing him. He was so quirky. In a lot of ways, he kind of reminded me of my mom.
I can kind of see that.
Because he kind of looks a little like her, too.
I bet there's a distant family relationship, I'll bet you. Because they've got similar facial features.
Yeah. And then, of course, then after it got caught up, I started seeing them kind of like in reruns, seeing like the Tom Baker episodes again. And then it went off the air for a long time.
Yeah.
And then came back with Eccleston. And I'm like, I don't know if I'm going to like this. Let's see how this guy is. First episode, the quirkiness was there. It's like, he's the doctor. And then the doofus only does a season and says, okay, I'm done. Get somebody else. It's like, seriously?
So, Darth was saying 80.
Can I address that?
Yeah,
Sure.
Go ahead.
I heard he didn't get along with Russell T. Davies.
Yeah,
I'd heard that.
It's very clear. And now in retrospect, I probably understand it.
Well,
we'll talk more about
the story
that
I had heard was that he just wanted to do a season because he always wanted to do Doctor Who, and he just wanted to do one season, and that was it.
That's always the line, so as not to let people know there's stuff going on behind the scenes. But yeah,
right,
absolutely. 81 for Darth Plato, and I think I'm actually a little bit later than that because, let's see, I graduated from high school in 89, so it was probably like 84 or so when I started watching Doctor Who. I'll get to my story in just a minute.
Well, I know I was a kid, so I had to have been somewhere between, I want to say, 9 years old and 14.
Yeah. So it was probably sometime in the 70s. I think that's when WTTW
because I was born early 60s. So, yeah, it had to be early 70s or so when I started watching.
So I guess the affiliate that Darth Plato was picking it up on was KTEH in San Jose. I had cousins that lived in San Jose. I visited there once when I was in high school.
So do you know the way to San Jose?
Yes, I wouldn't go back there, but I know the way. Absolutely. My doctor is Tom Baker. From the first episode, Robots. I was introduced to the series. Oh, yeah, and I should back up. Tim is speculating that Netter's first episode was Horror of Fang's Rock, and Troy was Max Headroom. He is, of course, referencing the...
Actually, I don't know the name of the episode.
He is referencing the hijacking that Doctor Who went through back in the 80s. The episode was Fang Rock, and the person that was jumping in was dressed as Max Headroom and doing the very famous...
I don't know the name of the episode, but what I do remember is that some baddies had gotten into the TARDIS, and it was the Doctor and his companion kept running through these different rooms that were identical.
Yes,
and it's like, so they'd run through one room, like up some stairs, across a platform, go down some other stairs, and then come through another door, and it's the exact same room. And the baddies would be right behind them. After they left, the baddies would come in, and this went on for several minutes. But I don't remember the name of the episode.
My mom, she was not a Doctor Who fan, and I remember that episode because she kept complaining about the effects and the sets. Like, this is ridiculously cheap looking. Like, she was like, people didn't understand. Like, yes, Doctor Who didn't always have the best budget. That's not the point.
Right.
It was the
you
writing.
Look past that to the story that's being told.
Yes.
So like I said, back in the 50s and 60s, television was still thought of as a teleplay. It was a play being performed on a stage in front of cameras, So it wasn't about great special effects and props and whatnot. It was about the story. Pay attention to the story. Jesse Green, welcome, says hello. And it made me think of the first episode of Christopher Eccleston, when Rose is, of course, completely. She is the audience insert for people that have never experienced the Doctor before. So she's like, "So wait, what's your name?" "Oh, I'm just the Doctor." You're the Doctor. Hello.
Okay. Something else about the Tom Baker years is the storyline I remember the most was the key to time, and then finds out that one of his companions is actually one of the keys that he needs to complete the thing. And also there was one episode where he's in like a cave environment with someone, and I want to say they were trapped in there, and the fellow he was trapped with goes, "I know you." And he goes, "Oh, do you?" And that sort of thing. He goes, "Yeah, we went to school together. Peter Sigmund." So it's like, supposedly that was the Doctor's name.
It wasn't Peter Sigmund. You were mishearing him. It was Theta Sigma.
Oh.
The Greek letters.
I was like 11. It sounded like Peter Sigmund.
That's perfectly fine. I'm just telling you, it was Theta Sigma. And the letters, Theta and Sigma, have been used as his abbreviation for
so it's like, that's the Doctor's name. His name is, like I said, I was like 11. Peter Sigmund, because that's what I heard.
That's fair. No, that's fair.
And this was before they had closed captions.
So Evelyn Hampton points out John Pertwee episodes aired at 4 p.m. weekdays. So I only saw them when I was on sick leave. Tom Baker was the first Doctor I watched regularly. So Evelyn was watching well before Netta and I had gotten into it, because by the time I got into it, it was just late nights on Sundays.
Is it possible that different PBS stations around the country got Doctor Who at different periods? Like maybe her local stations had Pertwee before maybe like Chicago area got it.
No. Because I mean, unless I'm mistaken, Evelyn, let me know if I'm wrong. You've always been a Chicago native, right? You grew up in the Chicago area too, so she was watching it on PBS as well.
Yeah, it's like, and I kind of remember it being Tom Baker.
I mean, WTTW.
Tom Baker, and then John Pertwee, and then the one that looks like Mo. And then the one with the hat.
The one with the hat was Tom Baker.
No, the other one. He had kind of like the little pork pie hat.
Sylvester McCoy.
Yeah.
Sylvester McCoy. Yeah. Jesse Green started late during the Matt Smith era. Fair enough. From a certain point of view, the last Doctor. If in your headcanon Doctor Who ends at Trenzalore, that was the last Doctor.
Yes, but I did like Capaldi, so what do I want to throw him
I
out?
did too, but that is why during my monologue I said he hasn't been seen since 2017. After Capaldi went through his regeneration, there's no more Doctor Who after that. I don't know.
Well, there's that.
I don't know.
We'll get to that in a few.
I like Pertwee's Doctor the most, but Baker had better episodes overall. In fairness, Baker had the most episodes to that point, so he had a better shot at having more good episodes.
Yeah, but the writing too in that era really was firing on all cylinders. You had the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy guy wrote some episodes, right? The John Adams, I believe.
Yep.
Not John Adams, Douglas Adams. Okay.
Favorite Doctor, Tom Baker, episode City of Death with Julian Glover. There you go. And there's the timey-wimey-limey. See, he's saying the same thing I did, that it was Theta Sigma. Yes, exactly right. What?
Do you want to hear about how I started with Doctor Who?
I'm getting there. I'm just realizing that so many people in the chat are sharing their stories. So U.S. did not get Hartnell and Troughton until after Colin Baker. No, okay, you might be right about that, Darth Plato. Now that I think about it,
and I actually stopped watching Doctor Who and Colin after the first episode of Colin Baker. I hated him so much. I never watched a single one after that.
I know that we got Pertwee before anything else, and after Tom Baker, they kind of started doing reruns. So. Yeah,
I remember it being Tom Baker, John Pertwee, Sylvester McCoy, and the one that looks like Mo. And then they went back to Baker.
No. Mo was Patrick Troughton.
Oh, my mistake. Yeah, Troughton. You're right. Yes.
The priest from The Omen.
Yeah, I couldn't remember his name.
Yeah, he was in a lot of horror movies. I wanted to mention though that when we get to Colin Baker, I'll give a defense. Okay.
That's down the line.
Yeah.
Yes, so I was right. She's a Chicago native, so she was watching it on WTTW. It's just that your description of it being during the weeks at 4, that predates both me and Netter, because for both of us it was on the weekends.
And it was at nighttime.
Yeah, late at night. Grew up on Tom Baker, but the best Doctor is George Lazenby. I see what you did there, timey-wimey-limey. I like that. This never happened to the other Time Lord. Yeah, exactly. That's exactly right. Trial of the Time Lord did rock. You're absolutely right. But you know what? A lot of that is stuff we'll get to another night. We are going to focus on the first 3. So the first Doctor, originally and for the most part played by William Hartnell. You are absolutely right. By the time they got to the 5 Doctors, he'd already passed, so he was replaced by Richard Hurndahl, which I believe, interestingly, the 10th anniversary special, The 3 Doctors, was Hartnell's last appearance.
Yes.
I think in anything. I don't think just Doctor Who. I think in anything. Yep. And after the 5 Doctors with Hurndahl, I think he had one more role, and then he passed. So, I mean, of course, other people may have played the first Doctor in audio and stuff like that, but then we don't get another first Doctor until David Bradley, who not only did a phenomenal job as the first Doctor, he also played
William Hartnell.
William Hartnell in the what was the name of that?
An Adventure in Time and Space. It was the movie about the making of Doctor Who, which oddly enough had an American producer.
Interesting.
People forgot. I mean, they did actually. Well, it was a woman in charge, so he did put in a British woman in charge of the production. But he was an American financier. He was working with I guess he was working for the BBC. But it was interesting that you didn't think such a iconic British series, but there was an American involved in it.
I believe Women in Charge was a Starz series. I've seen clips from that. Don't Google it at work. So anyway, Trial of Time Lord Rock. You're absolutely right. So let's get to it. Let me go ahead and bring up the presentation.
Did you ask Boomer what his?
Well, I figured that would be how he started his presentation.
It's none of these. Like everybody else, I didn't really get into Doctor Who until later, but I'd watch it off and on because my dad and my brother would have it on sometimes, and usually it was Tom Baker. I used to remember Tom Baker was the Doctor. Then I did remember how Peter Davidson took over the role, and that was really during the John Nathan Turner era. So I want to say, Tom Baker, but I think really it was that 80s era that got me into Doctor Who. That was the end of Tom Baker, begin Peter Davidson, Colin Baker, and I guess it ends with Sylvester McCoy. That was my kind of Doctor Who era. And I think I have a soft spot for Peter Davidson. I think he might be my favorite Doctor, number 5.
Yeah, he's a good one. And during that era, like late Fourth Doctor onwards, they started to get really elaborate with the openings.
Love it.
I mean the light shows were really trippy, but really really cool. And
the synth
and the
rock
face
theme, I
dissolves
love
and
it.
stuff. Yeah,
we'll get into that when we get to that era.
Yeah. Exactly.
But Hartnell is interesting, so we're going to start out with him. I think they made a big deal, PBS, that we're going to show you the first ever Doctor Who episode. And maybe I was just a little jerk at the time. I'm like, what is this? It's an old guy. Who is this? I don't like this Doctor Who. Have they even established any of the lore that came later? So I kind of snuffed it off. Plus, another big problem with the early Doctor Who episodes was many of them were lost. So they might show you like 2 or 3, and then they'd have to go into the next Doctor. It was
I
really
do think
bad.
most of the chat already knows this, but I'm going to share it. So we are talking about the first, second, and third Doctors, which represents 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 seasons.
That's a
Got
lot.
them right behind me here. Including, as you were saying, the Lost. I'm going to go big so I can kind of show this off. So I got the Lost Years. Oh, by the way, these are all custom covers that I've made.
You're being blocked.
I am?
By the presentation.
Yeah, the presentation is right in front of your face. It says Doctor Who Part 1.
Okay. Let me hold on a second. Let me pull it down. Still?
Yep.
Damn it.
Don't worry, everybody. In 5 years, we'll have this mastered. I'm kidding.
You know what? I'll just do it this way. I'll go to this.
Just put it
screen.
above your name. Just put it above the. Oh, yeah, there you go. Okay.
So
now go back and say what you're saying about the.
I am. So there were. Oh, now I got to recount them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. 12 seasons representing the first 3 Doctors, including. This is a collection, a 3-disc collection that's called The Missing Years, and all of these covers I made custom just because I've a lot of these discs. Although if they were available commercially, I did buy them, but many of them are custom discs because, as Boomer was sharing, just like all the episodes here in The Missing Years, a lot of the originals have gone missing, basically because they were sent out to the affiliates in other countries and whatnot. They were allowed to be showed once or twice or whatever, and then they were supposed to be sent back to the BBC. The BBC, the way rights worked with shows, I think they could show something twice, and then they had to destroy it. There was no syndication, nothing like that yet.
Awful.
So if stuff was recorded on VTRs, which was the predecessor to VHS or other magnetic media, they would just erase it because they wanted to reuse those tapes. And if you can't re-show something, God bless you, there was no sense saving it. So we lost all those original episodes. But over time, many of the affiliates who received tapes that they never sent back, or if in some cases they received reel-to-reel film that may or may not have been sent back. In some cases, little snippets, little scenes from episodes was used in other shows like Blue Peter and stuff. So some of those scenes exist. There's one episode of, I'm pretty sure it was the first Doctor, that included footage of the Beatles concert or performance or whatever you want to call it from Top of the Pops. That episode of Top of the Pops is lost, but that clip from Doctor Who still exists because it was shared on a Blue Peter episode. Yes.
I don't know if you saw this. You have a $10 super chat from Clue Studio.
Oh, thank you so much, my friend.
Troy, Netter, and Boomer rock.
Thank you.
And we do occasionally roll. Thank you so much, Clue Channel. I super appreciate that.
By the way, I did want to bring something up that book.
Right. What were you saying, Boomer? I
The
can
book
only
behind
listen to
you.
one voice at a time.
I'm sorry. It's like you're a dungeon master right now. Everyone's talking to you at once.
Exactly. That's exactly
Yeah.
right. It's and not to mention, I'm not even seeing stuff that's in the chat, so you guys got to understand.
It's okay. I just wanted to mention to you that book, Doctor Who 25 Glorious Years, I used to have that book. I remember that. Yes.
And then you had a hurricane, right?
Yeah, I think that was one of the ones that got messed up. I used to have that and the encyclopedia. Remember the Doctor Who encyclopedia?
I do.
And
My buddy Otto
Doctor Who,
had that, yeah.
and the Doctor Who technical manual. I had all three.
He had that as well, yeah. So like I was saying, a lot of these, especially the first two Doctors, one or two for the third Doctor, are reconstructions. So what they basically are is, like I said, whole serials, episodes are completely missing. But what does exist in completion is the audio of every single episode. Why is that? Because in the 60s and 70s, this is, of course, before people commonly had some sort of home media system where they could record on VCR. What they did have was audio recording. They could, just like Dale Cooper, you could do an audio recording off the air, off the TV. And a lot of people did that. They recorded it to listen to them again as though they were a radio program. And when the BBC realized there's a market for this and they wanted to do their version of a syndication system, they were like, well, what do we do? How do we capitalize on this? So what they did was they put out a call to the fans. And they said, look, technically recording something like that is a breach of copyright. But we know everyone's done it, and we will give you carte blanche, let you, whatever. If you have a good copy and are willing to share it with the BBC, we'd like to get that back from you to record it, and so that we can have a complete collection. And so a lot of people sent in audio recordings of the audio of episodes of varying qualities, right? But there was two blokes that did a really good job. Like, there was no background noise or anything, and sound engineers were able to clean them up really well. And what they did was they turned around and then took all of those audios, saved them digitally, put them out and sold them as CDs. So that's why everyone can go out and get an audio CD of all the episodes. And then over time, they have used those audio CDs to as the soundtrack for making reproductions. They, again, with varying quality, they recreate the episodes using animation, so you can experience just about every episode. And the ones that haven't been done yet using animation, what they do have is telesnaps. So back in the days of the first and second Doctor, they would hire a professional photographer to come on set. And it wasn't the BBC hiring them. It was the actors who would have them literally take photographs of each scene, and then they would keep this collection for their, the CV or whatever, for their own archive of their work. So those telesnaps exist for all these episodes. So those have been obtained by the public over the internet and so forth. And a group called Loose Cannon Productions have taken the audio and the telesnaps, and they've created the equivalent of I guess you would call it today like a motion comic, right? It's mostly a slideshow of these telesnaps, sometimes going back and forth between the same picture if you have two people in a conversation or whatever.
Yeah.
And really, really simple animation, like if you have a picture of a bunch of Daleks moving down a hallway, they'll separate the Daleks from the background and have them grow larger, going forward. It's almost, it's not even as good as those animations from like Blake 7 or
But they've gotten better over the years.
They have.
Recent years,
They
they have
absolutely
made them better because of computers, so they were able to make them
yeah,
better.
and nowadays, on YouTube you can find people have recreated scenes using computer graphics, and they'll start with the still, and the still can then have some kind of movement. It's getting much, much better. It's pretty amazing. But that's what all of these are. They're either reboxings of commercially obtained DVDs or these reconstructions from loose cannon. So I can honestly say that I have as complete a collection of Doctor Who episodes as possible. And then as they re-release more, I'm getting them on Blu-ray. So this is the collected Hartnell season 2. I believe this has a new animated episode or 2 in there. So I really do have as complete a collection as possible. So let me get us back to the presentation, and I will. Hold on a second.
Whoa, it's like the TARDIS.
Where am I?
You're behind the sign.
Oh, that's why. I was wondering who's missing, and it's Troy.
Oh. Let me shrink myself back down. There we go.
It's like
Okay.
someone's
Is everything back and right now?
Yeah, I was about to say, it looks good. I was about to say it looks like someone used a tissue compression eliminator on you. It's a Doctor Who reference. The Masters thing.
Exactly
okay, anyway.
right.
Okay, so let's get into it. We're going to cover the first 2. I got to say, I'm not going to have a whole heck of a lot to say about Hartnell and Troughton, because unfortunately, I've not seen many of these. I do remember seeing the first 2 Hartnells. That's the original intro.
There are many things that I like about every Doctor, really.
Yes.
But I will admit that as Netter and I have watched all of the episodes of Doctor Who, and I can honestly say that together we have watched every episode of Doctor Who. Those first 2 Doctors can be very challenging. Not because they were bad episodes, but let's face it, old sci-fi from those days could get a little dry. It's even worse when you're watching these telesnap type, slideshows. It is rough. It really is. And no disrespect intended, but William Hartnell was struggling. He was in bad health almost the whole time he played Doctor Who. And he had a really hard time remembering his lines. When we get to the 3 Doctors, I'll say more about that. But he did a lot of improv. He knew the basic story, so sometimes he'd improvise. But you could see him pausing and thinking. And it was, in a lot of ways, it was a lot like daytime dramas. They may not have been going out live, but they didn't want to take multiple takes. Anytime you had to do another take, that ran into money with editing and so forth. So to the best of their abilities, it was the first take. And so you would get some raw, coverage of those. Oh, real quick. Just saw a name I haven't seen. Yes, Zach is saying that Retro Blasting last week killed. Yes, and Retro Blasting also had started to do a series on Doctor Who. And unfortunately, it didn't do real well. So since he is a full-time YouTuber, he just couldn't justify the time he spends on those, which is sad because he is a wealth of Doctor Who knowledge. He spent some years living in the UK, so he was able to watch it some of those episodes first run.
Yeah.
That's why Hartnell wasn't really in the story. I'm assuming you mean
3 Doctors.
The 3 Doctors. He was only on no
view screen.
Yes, that's right. He was only on the view screen. His scenes were filmed at Ealing Studios, despite I think people said that his scenes were filmed in his home. That's not
Right.
true. What was
Okay.
done at his home was they took those the production stills of him and Troughton and Pertwee at his home outdoors, and then a couple of them were like in the garage for the lighting effect ones, like the one that's in the thumbnail for tonight.
And Pertwee got to keep Bessie.
Pertwee did, yes.
Pertwee, yeah.
The episode was really just Troughton and Pertwee savaging each other. Yeah, in fact, they enjoyed that so much, that dynamic between the two of them. They kind of kept it up when they would appear at conventions together.
That's funny. I did want to mention about the episode Unearthly Child. I remember one review said that in this episode, the alien menace is the Doctor himself. If you look at it from the perspective of the humans in the episode, yeah.
Evelyn, I am going to recommend that you get yourself an ad blocker if you want to be able to watch live streams without interruptions. I'm sorry about that. There's nothing I can do about it. The best that I can do is either demonetize my stream, which hurts to do, or at the least that I could do is say I don't want to run mid-roll credits. But in a live stream, there's no saying what mid-roll is. YouTube decides that.
But you are also on Twitter and Rumble at the moment too, though, right?
I am on Twitter.
Correct.
So if
Yes.
you want to
Twitter
jump
X,
over
yes.
to Twitter,
Twitter X.
you can watch me without commercials. No, I am not on Rumble right now.
Okay, that's right. You're on.
I
you're
will be in the
working on that,
future.
Yeah.
I will be in the future, but right now, if you want to watch me without commercials, X might be the way to go. I am live on X, and if you are commenting to me on X, I would not know that you're not on my channel or one of the other YouTube channels. It all looks the same to me in StreamYard.
Now, I believe there was a trouble with this original broadcast too. Because wasn't this the week Kennedy was assassinated? Didn't that have something to do with the airing of this too? It messed something up. Yeah,
it did, as I recall. And someone can correct me if I get the details incorrect. But the day that the first episode of Doctor Who was meant to premiere was the day that Kennedy was assassinated, and of course everything was put on hold because of that. So they had to show the first episode either at a different time or something. I can't remember exactly how they managed it in the UK. We wouldn't have noticed the difference because we didn't get it until significantly later anyway. And I can't remember. Give me just a second because I've got it here. And I know YouTube is not going to like this, but trying to find here it is. I believe it's called uBlock, the letter U, BLOCK, on the Google store. And it works better on Firefox than it does on Google Chrome. Just throwing that out there. But I don't deal with commercials myself. So yes, it means I don't get $1.250 per stream. But honestly, you guys, it's really the memberships and the super chats that keep me going. If I'm honest.
And you could always watch it. I am simulcasting on my YouTube channel, which I'm sure is not getting commercials. So
no, actually, that's not true. You're probably getting commercials.
Of course,
too. You're just not getting
they're just not okay.
Yeah,
of course,
that's why I'm saying X is the way to go, guys. It
go to
absolutely
X.
is.
Go to X. But William Hartnell, how is good Doctor though, right? I mean, look, they're on the moon or something like that. Or
he was, and they were absolutely they were making it up as they went along. When this started, so all of the lore that we've gotten since then, the idea that he was a Time Lord from Gallifrey and all this kind of stuff, that didn't really come up in the beginning. In fact, there was 3 films that were made starring Peter Cushing as the Doctor. 2? I'm sorry, 2.
There's a fake trailer for the third one I recommend you check out, though. Yes, it's very funny.
That might be what I was thinking of. I had seen it.
Where the Beatles get exterminated at the beginning of the trailer. It's very funny.
So they took the basic story of the introduction of the Daleks, and they turned it into an episode or into a film called Doctor Who and the Daleks Invasion of Earth or something like that.
Yes.
And it's actually pretty good. And there's a lot of great behind the scenes lore about that. How some of the Daleks that were made for that film had appeared subsequently, and people have kept track of each individual prop Dalek and what happened to them and where they've been, who's owned them, and in some cases stole them, and where they've turned up. It's really, really good stuff. Nate says, welcome, by the way, Nate. Doctor Who premiered in the UK in 63, but didn't cross the pond until 72. So yeah, not until after I was born. So yeah, originally, the whole idea that the Doctor was, and in fact, in the movie, they kind of codify that idea that the Doctor was just a human guy who invented a time machine, a la the main character in the Time Machine, who creates a time machine in his basement or whatever. Oh, Joe's Atmosphere, welcome, my friend. Good to see you. Drive by Super, thank you so much. Not a Who fan, but love the crew. Thank you so much for all the support, my friend. You are absolutely good people. Unless I'm mistaken, Joe's Atmosphere is going to be a guest over on Deleted Scenes channel late Sunday night. Am I right, Deleted? Confirm that if you would. But yeah, so they went with that lore for the movies, but then over time, and we'll explain as we get later into the other Doctors, how they decided not only is he an alien, but a Time Lord. Yes. So the companions behind him, of course, are Stephen and I'm forgetting her name.
They were school teachers.
They were school teachers from the school that his granddaughter was attending. So he had his TARDIS parked in a junkyard in 1963.
And they think his
I am
daughter is
Forrester.
odd. Granddaughter's odd.
Yeah. Susan Foster was the name she used. And she's odd. Retroactively, we decide she's odd because she's an alien teenager, right? But
she knows history that hasn't happened yet, and she keeps bringing it up in the class. Remember, this is something that was going on. Yes.
Which again, because she's young, she's saying a lot of things she ought to say, right?
Yes.
76 Totter Lane was the junkyard. Yes, exactly. Thank you very much. Barbara was the female school teacher, right? And was it Stephen or was it Ian? I get confused with the next male companion. I'm always confusing those two.
I don't remember. It's all a blur with Hartnell. I know there's one companion named Dodo. That's a weird name.
Yes.
There's another one starting with an A. Eric or Enric or something. Adric, maybe.
Adric, yes.
Well, that was
that's a later.
We'll get to him later. But of course, in the very second serial, we get introduced to a very familiar Doctor Who monster. Right?
Yep. This is the literal on-screen first appearance of a Dalek, and all we're seeing is that suction cup arm of his. Yes.
Super suction cup ears.
And this is great. So this brings up another thing about those earlier serials. They were a serialized show, so they almost always ended on a cliffhanger. And this is either the very last scene of an episode or the first scene of the next episode, because they would then re-show the scene to do the setup. Thank you so much, Darth Plato. The best Hartnell episode was the Aztecs, arguably where the Doctor got remarried, we assume.
Oh, I don't have a
Oops,
picture
sorry,
from that one.
it just
Sorry.
messed up the screen there. We're back.
Because part of these episodes would just be about him time traveling to a different part of human history without there really being any aliens, right?
So the original concept was that this was going to be educational.
So you'd have history lessons intermixed with the science fiction. Yes.
Yes,
Okay.
you would learn about the Aztecs. You learn about Marco Polo. Marco Polo's unfortunately a great series of, I think, 4 episodes, all missing. All we have is reconstructions and
I've heard
little
of them, yeah.
segments of it. I do have a really good reproduction of it. In fact, I want to say it's the bloke that played Ian came back and acted as he refilmed scenes in the current day, which was, I think, in the 80s or whatever, playing his character, writing his memoirs, talking about his adventures with Marco Polo and stuff like that. And it's actually a really, really great way to fill in the story that was missing. I mean, they may have done an animated version since then. I don't know for sure, but yeah, it actually was a good story. And you really could pick up bits of good history from them. But yeah, then as time went by, they just went for entertainment. They got a lot more sci-fi. Although I would argue the Daleks and their whole backstory, these aliens, these alien mutants inside of these mechs fighting against, these running this sterile city, fighting a war for generations against humanoids called the Khalids, I believe they were, that are fighting this guerrilla warfare against them.
2 races occupying the same planet, and they had a war.
And it was very, it was clear that this was like an anti-war type.
Maybe even World War II analogous to a certain group.
Maybe. Well, one could argue
not so on the nose, but yeah.
Actually, it's funny because they have put a finer point on that analogy with later stories related to the Daleks. But I always felt like it was probably more of a North and South Vietnam type of commentary. But that's the thing about good sci-fi. You could do a commentary about some topical thing from your time, but by couching it in this sci-fi element, it kind of makes it more timeless. So now I could say it's Russia versus Ukraine. There's no way back in 1963 they would have known about a particular combat in the 2024, 2025. But if you tell a good enough story, you can apply it. It becomes timeless. Tom Baker was my gateway doctor. I got hooked. Yeah, that's true for a lot of people there.
Yeah. Let's see. Okay, Khalids were the race that become the Daleks. The Thals were the ones they were fighting against. I remember that now. Okay.
Right. You're right, because it's the Khalids that end up becoming the Daleks. You swap around the letters and whatnot. And later on, this first introduction of the Daleks don't give you any origin for them. It's not until what was it, like Dawn of the Daleks or something like that, where we get introduced to Davros and that whole storyline about, they're always
Genesis of the Daleks.
Genesis of the Daleks. Thank you very much.
Davros.
That's the he's compared to mustache guy as well as Mengele. This is some rich lore. They start with aliens and don't give them too much thought beyond the story.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, it could just be these things can happen with other peoples. That's the whole point. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Actually, later on, we're going to talk about the Cybermen, and interestingly, when you start getting into the Eccleston and what's his name? Who's the 10th Doctor? well, the ninth and 10th Doctors deal with some Daleks, excuse me, some Cybermen that were not.
John Hurt. We'll get to that someday.
No. After John Hurt, after Eccleston.
Okay, Eccleston is that. Don't.
Eccleston
I'm going
is
to go on a
9.
rant when we get. Yeah.
Well, he goes by 9.
Eccleston isn't.
Tennant.
Oh no, Eccleston is 9.
Tennant. That's why I was
Tennant is
10.
Okay.
Tennant.
Makes sense. 10.
Yeah. I always forget that little mnemonic. But it was during
I will be going on a rant later.
It was during their era that they encounter a whole new race of Cybermen from an alternate timeline that were created here on Earth, not on Cybertron or whatever planet they were from. So, anyway.
Skaro
is the planet of the Daleks, yes.
But later on, the Daleks actually they're on Earth in the future, and something's wrong, right? There are no people around, and like it's kind of desolate, like there's been a war happening. And then who creeps out of the shadows, right? Yeah. So there's this great shot. There you go. That is. They filmed this very early in the morning before there was any traffic. They did the same thing in London to film 28 days later. Brilliant.
There's a scene where I forget the actor's name, the one that played the Scarecrow. He's walking through the streets of London, and there's nobody around because they filmed it early in the morning, just like this episode. And they would. If they saw anyone on the street, they accidentally got him. Well, we'd have to redo that take or shoot another angle or something. Yeah.
If I saw that on the street, I'd run the other direction.
Right.
Timey Wimey Limey says alternate timelines require alternate history books. Is that a quote from Susan in An Unearthly Child to the Teachers? Does she say that?
I wouldn't be surprised. I would not be surprised.
Like she says that to the teacher. Yes.
The interesting thing is that you would think that there'd be more talk about alternate timelines in Doctor Who, and there aren't. Usually they treat time as
it isn't
linear but relative. So in other words, if the Doctor goes back and changes something, it's either a predestination causality loop where he always had done that thing. So the history that is known.
But then it was introduced in the Davies era that there are points that even Time Lords are not allowed to change.
Right, like fixed points in time. And that was just a story element that and I would argue that it's actually a rule imposed by the Time Lords, that they had decided on certain things that had to happen, and therefore they enforced those temporal realities.
Maybe
we'll get into that.
We'll get into that later. Now we're still on First Doctor. This is Dalek Invasion Earth. Now imagine you're a kid and you've been watching Doctor Who, and you were wanting the Daleks to come back because you thought they were horrible, cool monsters, right? And then you're watching, and at the end of season 2, they're on Earth, and inside the Daleks are showing up in London where you live. You know, I mean, that must have thrown all the audience for a loop. Like, oh no, the Daleks are now here on Earth.
When they're on another planet or way in the future,
far away, another time.
You don't think much about it. When it's the near future, I forget what year this took place in, 20 something or other.
Yeah, 1990 something probably. I don't know, or maybe 2000.
Yeah, whatever they consider
2000
way in the future. Probably, that's pretty heavy duty. That's pretty real, you know.
But yeah.
Oh no, Timey Wimey Limey said he just made it up. Yeah, but you're right. I could totally see that too. Like the Doctor has like alternate history books in his library or something.
That's the one thing that doesn't change because they're stuck in the TARDIS, right?
Right. Exactly right.
But yeah, this is when I think Susan finally leaves, right? And
do you recognize that bloke there with the Doctor?
That's Alfred. Oh, wait, darn it. I went back. Sorry. Excuse me.
Yep.
Let's go back.
Yep.
This is the Celestial Toy Maker, which I heard was one of the bigger deal episodes of the Hartnell era. I haven't watched it, though.
Yep. Oh, you haven't seen it?
No, is it good?
Oh yeah, I liked it.
Okay, yeah. So he had other menaces besides the Daleks in this first series. There's the Celestial Toymaker. There was let's see, let's
Michael
move
Go,
on.
that was his name. Michael Go.
Yeah, he was Alfred. He was in some Hammer movies too.
Yes, he was.
That's Dodo. He's holding a Viking helmet there for some reason.
I think
Must have
that's
been
Steven. That's the one I'm always confusing with Ian. Yeah.
Yes, they probably look similar.
And this is, I don't know the details of that storyline, but it's like he's looking at that helmet like, and it would have been great if he'd have been like, why are there horns on this helmet? Because, Vikings historically did. Well, no, only in opera. Historically, they didn't.
This is the Time Meddler.
Yes, it was. This was the first mention of there being others of his kind.
Yes.
I think this actually established him as an alien, and that the Time Meddler was another renegade Time Lord who had also stolen a TARDIS.
Because I think in the beginning, early series, well, I don't know if he, or maybe they could argue he was maybe lying to them, saying he was from Earth in the future. But actually from another planet. That's probably what we find out here, right? Yes.
Whereas the Doctor's motivation, at least initially, the Doctor's motivation was to go on an adventure with his granddaughter, teach her history, and not interfere. He was always saying we can't interfere. We should never interfere in time. Mm-hmm. Obviously, that changes going forward, which does make him, from the Time Lord's point of view, a more dangerous renegade. The Time Meddler was a problem because he went to a specific point in history and set up shop to accumulate wealth for himself. A monk is actually a very clever place to be at a specific place in time. If you want,
he's in medieval times, we won't suspect him, right? Yeah.
Not only that, but you have access to funds. It was the Knights Templars that were actually responsible for the creation of the banking system we have today. The idea of being able to make a deposit in one country, receive a mark that you take to the Templars in another city, and make a withdrawal so that you're not traveling with your funds. That's how banking actually started.
The Geek Flag says Dalek Invasion was in 2150. Okay. So it could still happen.
Because that was probably the title for the Peter Cushing film. Dalek Invasion 2150, I think is what it was. Yeah.
So yeah, I know in some of the Doctor role-playing game manuals, he was stuck in the book with the Master, even though he's not really the Master, but he's like a proto-Master type of character, yeah. Right. Here we have Daleks versus Mekons, right?
Yep, the Mekons were the attempt to create another robotic race that were just as bad and evil as the Daleks, but also warring with the Daleks. I also think that it was the BBC trying to find a replacement for the Daleks so they didn't have to deal with Terry Nation anymore.
Yeah,
that did not work out.
Never worked.
It didn't work out because the fans did not respond as well to these as they did to Daleks. So there you go.
Yeah. So
nothing succeeds like success, people.
That's a good thing. Let's see.
The introduction of the Cybermen. We've just moved into the second Doctor, haven't we?
So we're no. This is the last Hartnell episode has the introduction.
Gotcha.
Of the episode called "The 10th Planet." Connie Cleary says the TARDIS takes him where he needs to go. The old girl is the original companion. Oh, that's interesting. Yeah,
that's kind of true.
Yeah, because there was that episode where she tells him, "I may have taken you every place you wanted to go, but I always took you where you needed to go."
Exactly. That's a tough episode. I'm in tears by the end of that episode.
Yeah, we'll get to it. But here we go. We have this is one of the original Cybermen. These look rather terrifying. I mean, I know we may look at it and think it's kind of funny, but if you think about it, it really looks like there's something of a person left on the inside of there, but not.
And that is, I'll tell you what, a lot of people have drawn corollaries between the Cybermen in Doctor Who and the Borg from Star Trek. Both
That's
are
true.
equally terrifying.
But the Borg are sort of, I understand why they want to go there. I would argue that the Borg is a Star Trek version of the types of alien races we see on Doctor Who, but it's still a Star Trek version of that, whereas it deals with this sort of thing differently. On Doctor Who, even on Star Trek, the Borg can be redeemed, even as alien and awful as they are.
Well,
you can bring people back from being a Borg. You can't come back from being a Cyberman. You can't come back from being a Dalek. You're done. Okay. Yeah.
Well, right. You're absolutely right about that. And to some degree, it's true with I mean, let's face it, First Contact, Picard actually shoots Ensign Hawk because it's a mercy killing. He's like, there's no coming back. And nobody turns and looks at him and goes, but you did. I mean,
this was argued. People come back from being Borgs all the time. 7 of 9 came back from being a Borg. She only kept that thing in her face as a reminder. It wasn't really a function.
That's not really true. They insinuated that the ones that they didn't remove were like, if they
essential.
removed them, she would have lost. Yeah, like the ones on her fingers.
Okay.
She would have lost sensation in her. Well, this is fan speculation, but she would have had no sensation in her hands if they had removed.
They did this on Picard, where some Borgs can have the stuff removed from them after you bring them back. It's never mind. It was probably to create an othering of
exactly right. Yeah.
Okay. Let me see though, but yeah. Do you like? Anyway, that's creepy though. And they talk creepy in this episode too. Like it's like this high pitched. Yeah.
Yeah. When you realize that they're actually humanoids that are, for lack of a better term, assimilated. Later, the Cybermen refer to it as being upgraded.
Now they're from planet Mondas, which was actually the sister planet of Earth.
Right, exactly.
What was interesting is
Planet 10. Yeah,
it's. I think is this come from that thing how we see how there's that weird asteroid belt and people kept speculating was there a planet there once, and there now people.
There's been a number of
Mondas.
Planet.
That's where that comes from. Yeah,
there's been a number of 10th planet speculation. One was that prior to the discovery of the asteroid belt, they thought that there was a planet in there. And I suppose from a certain point of view, there probably was, and it was probably torn apart by gravitational tidal forces that turned it into an asteroid field. But
and in order for this race to survive, they had to become cybernetic.
There's also been speculation that there is beyond the Oort cloud, beyond the beyond like where Pluto orbits, another terrestrial style planet, but much larger, with a very high mass that comes around every now and again. It's been referred to as Planet X, or they've referred to it as I don't know. The conspiracy theorists all have stories about this. So
bring up Darth Plato's comments. He says the Borg were originally an insect race, but were changed to reduce costs. Collective and queen concept were retained. I think that worked out for the best.
Well, specifically, yeah. So there was an episode, and I'm forgetting the name of the episode, and I want to say it was in second season, where you find out that an alien race has infiltrated the Federation. They are
season 1. That was season 1.
Was it?
Yes.
It was some sort of a
symbiotic
thing.
Yes.
And you could tell because they had their tails were sticking out the back of their heads, and Riker tries to infiltrate them. He has a little thing like implanted into the back of his head, so it looks like he's one of them, and he meets up with a bunch of admirals or something, and he's trying to find out what their plans are, and they're all eating mealworms, and he has to this may have been the precursor to learning to eat gach, I suppose. Actually, Jonathan Frakes. Go ahead.
We seek peaceful coexistence. Remember,
right?
He said that.
Jonathan Frakes said that those were actually real mealworms. And he wasn't supposed to drop them into his mouth. He was supposed to turn and shoot the guy before he had to do that. But one actually did fall into his mouth.
Awesome.
Yeah, it kind of bothered him. But there was talk about making that race because at the very end of the episode, they're able to get off some sort of a signal to their home world or something. And it's implied that, eventually there's going to be a big invasion. And they have this whole story planned out. And they decided, nah, they went with the Borg concept instead.
But theoretically, that could still happen.
Yeah, in Star Trek Online, they actually have that race has actually returned. There's a Federation officer that he ends up having to shoot who's able to take a lot of damage before like 3 or 4 officers have to put their phasers on kill, and finally he like bursts.
Yeah.
And this insectoid creature bursts out of him, and then they have to blow that up. Well, you can fight those things in Star Trek Online. But anyway, the point I was getting at about this was, that's exactly where all of that comes from. Yeah.
But that was the Cybermen, and I think the Doctor manages to defeat them and stop them from, I guess, invading the Earth, but it comes at a cost.
Mm-hmm.
And the cost is him.
Yep. So this was the first time that they introduced the concept of regeneration. They didn't even call it regeneration at the time. He calls it a kind of reinvigoration. The original... Go ahead.
Did he go into some machine and then the machine made him young? Was that the excuse they used? Or am I thinking something else?
No, it was very similar to the regenerations you see later. Not the same special effects, obviously, but he's lying on the floor and they do like blurry, bright light. And when they come back, it's Patrick Troughton. But the idea was that it was a literal reinvigoration. So you were supposed to imagine that Patrick Troughton was a younger version of William Hartnell, at least at that point. Hartnell. At least at that point in history. However, you get such a different characterization, right? And you get different mannerisms. For example, he plays the recorder, right? The previous guy didn't do that, Yeah.
Well, you could argue, maybe when he was a younger man, we can be young. True. Like 20 years ago, we were kind of different, but maybe not to that extreme. So
you make a great point, because I've mentioned on stream before, in 7th and 8th grade, I played the trombone. And then after I went into high school, I didn't keep it up. And, but yeah. So at the time, the idea was he was just a younger version. It was their way of cheating death. For the BBC, it was their way of recasting the Doctor and continuing the storyline as though it's the same character.
And they probably didn't know. I mean, they probably weren't even sure how many more seasons this would last, but apparently it was still a big enough.
Exactly. They were not thinking ahead. They were just going, it's going well. This is what we'll do. We'll change our minds later, if necessary. By the way, you had been talking about the TARDIS control room. Here it is, and that is in fact the same TARDIS control room as William Hartnell. The line that he recites when he leaves his granddaughter behind at the end of the Dalek War in 2150 or whatever it was, 2150. He's standing at that console when he says that line to her. So, just mentioning that.
And here we go. We're going to move on to, of course, he gets a companion later on, who is a fan favorite companion. This is Jamie.
James Crimmins, I believe it was, a Scottish boy who.
Highlander.
A Highlander, exactly.
He's an actual Highlander from what, the 18 or 1700s, I believe.
Yes.
Yes.
And there is an episode of the David Tennant Doctor, the 10th Doctor, where they are in Scotland, and they're asked who he is, he introduces himself as James Crimmin, and he affects his own Scottish accent because he really is Scottish. He really has a Scottish accent, and it's a nod to the fans. It makes a lot of sense, and it's the Doctor kind of going undercover, so to speak. But yeah.
Now, I believe that there's a funny story about this. Now, I think this started out as like a typical history episode, right? Where the Doctor, he's meeting the Scottish Highlanders in the 1700s, or, and then, they okay, now him and his friends are going to go off in the TARDIS, and then Jamie sneaks in the TARDIS.
Yep.
So you have this guy completely out of time. Like, this isn't even like modern 1960s.
Well, but in a way, that's not so different from Ian and Barbara, who had shown up in the TARDIS because they followed they followed Susan because they were concerned about her and they wanted to meet her grandfather and talk about how she's doing this basic teacher type stuff.
And then
they end up traveling in time and can't get back.
From the Doctor's companion, it doesn't. From the Doctor's point of view, it wouldn't matter. For the audience point of view, though, it's not even like a person from our time. Now we have a person from 200 years ago showing up inside the TARDIS.
Yep. And when you have a non-linear type of storyline like that, why not? Right. So Ian and Barbara were from 1963, which was the present day for the audience. Right. Jamie is from 200 years in the past. Right. Yep. And if I'm not mistaken, Steven, who we just saw earlier, is from the future.
Okay, yeah, they were playing around with having companions in the future, and that carries on even in the series when we get to Zoe. So let's move on to that's Victoria. That's a great shot
Victoria.
Of an ice.
She was a cutie. Yeah.
Yeah, a very attractive young woman who was from the Victorian era, I believe, right? And
I think so.
Behind her is an ice warrior. See that?
Yep.
Because the ice warriors were introduced during this season. Because he does end up going with other baddies, the Cybermen and the Daleks.
Were the ice warriors originally from Mars?
Yes, they are. They are Martian natives. And,
they are referred to in Waters of Mars.
Yes,
that was another thing that I loved about the 9th and 10th Doctors. They very often referenced these older episodes, just sometimes in throwaway lines.
Yeah, like they were trying to figure out what happened to the Ice Wars. Some thought they were casualties of the Time War, the Ice Warriors. Others, because whatever those things were that were living in the water, the Ice Warriors knew of them and left a warning about them, but the humans didn't understand when they were reading.
Which is really cool. That's a great way of working with lore instead of trying to rewrite lore because you're too damn lazy to do your homework.
Well, that happens later on with Doctor Who, but let's move on to...
Oh, damn, I don't recognize this.
This is from... Okay, I wanted to bring this up because this is an episode I
Now, wait a minute. This is from the late 60s. They didn't have diverse casting back then.
Yes, they did.
What's this all about? Only in the past 10 to 15 years have black people been allowed to be in movies. Apparently.
Yes, I know.
I've been told.
This is the great episode, The Tomb of the Cybermen, which I remember being
We have somebody in the chat that I have not seen in a very, very, very long time, and I'm so glad to see you. The Peter Venkman fan site. Welcome. So good to see you. I am so glad you are here. Is that from the Tomb of the Cybermen? Thank you so much. Okay.
I want to talk about this because this episode was considered a lost episode. I saw images of it in Doctor Who magazines. I'd heard all sorts of things about it, and this was another casualty of the BBC. They eventually released the screenplay. You could buy the teleplay for it and read that. There were book adaptations. I don't know if this was found in a church or a monastery. Someone found the reels and they found the entire episode. So it was restored and released on video. So we have the whole thing now.
Yeah, so I was getting at this at the beginning of the stream.
Yeah.
There have been incidents where, again, all of these, whether you received a videotape or film reels or whatever, you were supposed to send them back to the BBC, and sometimes they didn't. There have been a surprising number of film reels of Doctor Who episodes found in Africa.
Yeah.
Where they were shown,
this was one of them.
Never sent back, and forgotten. Just forgotten.
Yeah.
And then someone comes across them and goes, oh, crap, we got to send this back to the BBC. You know? I'm not even kidding. That's exactly what people are doing. They're like, oh, crap. You know, we legally have to send this back to the BBC. And they send it back, you know?
It'd be funny and like, oh, thank you. We thought this was lost media. What's fascinating about this episode, this is the conceit.
Sometimes, however, they show up in private collections.
They do.
That's where the stories get very interesting.
So this is the Tomb of the Cybermen. In this episode,
isn't this the episode you're talking about that was restored or recovered?
They found it. Yes.
That was the most recent one, very, very recently. Prior to that, no?
Well, maybe the most recent complete one they found. Yes, maybe that's right.
Yeah. Prior to this, there was only portions of it, and I believe you can get a animated recreation of it as well. But now, the full episode can be obtained. Yeah.
This is fascinating, though, because it actually shows you how great these old Doctor Who serials were, because what they're kind of remind you of are like 50s B science fiction movies. That's how they play, because they're 4 episodes long, so if you watch all 4 parts, it's like a movie, like, yes? No, I'm serious.
Well, no, I'm laughing at the Venkman fans. The black guy's just CGI.
No, anyway. What's interesting, this is in the future. This is an Earth expedition, and these are Earth archaeologists, and they say, we think we found the tomb of an ancient dead alien race, the Cybermen. And the Doctor's like, I wouldn't be going investigating that.
Yeah, exactly.
But he says, I better tag along in case something goes horribly wrong. So him and Victoria and Jamie. Yeah. And what's fascinating is this is Victoria's second episode. So when you watch this episode, Victoria's like, I can't believe it, because she's seeing the TARDIS for the first time about it being bigger on the inside. So this is a great introduction to Patrick Troughton. If you can't find other episodes.
I'm sorry, but I do need to interrupt you again, because I did want to, since I'm seeing Peter Venkman fan site in the chat. I wanted to. This is something that I've been wanting to talk about for a while. Just take me a second. The reason it's important that you all go and subscribe to each other, like we're always saying, go subscribe to the Peter Venkman fan site, and all of each other subscribe to each other, because. When I ask you to do it, it's because it's the most concrete exemplar that we have a community here that really embodies the together we grow ideal that Netter's always talking about. That she's always quoting from PJ. People see it in real time. Hey, I stopped by last call and said hi, and a bunch of people subscribed to my account, and then maybe, I don't know, maybe Peter Venkman fansite comes back next week, and maybe they, tell other people to come and check us out, and, maybe get a few more subscribers and support each other, and together we grow.
Exactly. That's
literally
why I do Thursday things.
Exactly.
It's like you come on my channel, my chat members and my members, I'll get to know more about you. If they haven't subscribed, they usually do subscribe because I like to show the love. And then they might tell somebody about your channel, who might tell somebody about your channel, who might tell somebody about your channel, and then you get more subscribers.
And so on and so on. If you're old enough
I
to
just
get that
invited
reference.
somebody who subscribed to my channel, because I went and looked at my list of subscribers, and it's somebody that I'd never had on before. So I checked out their channel, make sure that it's something, well, they got a lot of subs. I want to make sure they had decent content.
Yeah.
One of the videos they did was about David Lynch. So I sent them a note on Twitter and said, hey, would you like to be a guest on Thursday Things? And by the way, if you are interested in David Lynch and Twin Peaks, every
Live
Tuesday,
from Sparkwood and 21.
Yeah, check out our show. And I haven't heard back yet because I just sent it like 15 minutes ago. But it's like, if I get this guy on my channel,
we'll get him a few more subscriptions. And yeah, absolutely. So please, everybody, go subscribe to the Peter Venkman fan site. And hey, maybe if you want, reach out to Netter's Network on X or Facebook or I don't know, wherever she is. X is probably the best place to get
X is the easiest. And I'm already subscribed to Peter Venkman.
And you could be on Thursday Things and talk about your channel. And we can't see if we can't get you a few more.
Yeah, because like right now, Peter Venkman only has 19 subscribers. Come on, love. You guys show the love.
Mm-hmm.
Subscribing is a reward for reading the chat. It's a symbolic relationship. That's a great way to look at it, timey-wimey-limey.
I am going to drop Peter Venkman's channel in
Thank you very much,
chat.
Netter. And while she's doing that, go ahead, Boomer.
Anyway, so this it plays like a horror movie. They're going into the Tomb of the Cybermen.
Yes.
Like something happens, someone gets killed, but there are these little puzzles they have to solve to uncover. And of course, you have this one evil man from Earth that wants to actually figure out a way to control the Cybermen to use them to attack Earth, and they'll be under his control. Because there's an ulterior motive by the guy financing the expedition. And of course, the Earth scientists
There's always one in every crowd.
Yeah. But what's interesting about this is all these little puzzles and things they have to solve. This was all planted by the Cybermen. It's not a tomb. It is a holding cell for the Cybermen. They're waiting for an intelligent enough alien race to uncover them so they can escape and maybe even convert some of them into being Cybermen as well. This was all a plan. So they can
upgrade them and start growing again. Absolutely.
And there's a horrifying scene when they all come out of the storage that they're in. See, there they are.
And there is this level of almost Lovecraftian existential horror, because when you realize to become part of the Cybermen, you literally have your humanity stripped away from you, yet you're kept alive in there. That's just, oh my God, that's just horrifying.
Yeah. Great episode. If you need an introduction to Troughton, I would go with Tomb of the Cybermen. Let me go on, though. There was an episode with a Yeti. Do you know anything about this?
Yeti. Yes, I do. In fact, this comes up later on, again, during the Davidson era. Excuse me, the, what's it called?
Five Doctors.
Davies. The Davies episode is what I meant to say.
Okay, yeah.
He talks, there's a line that I think it was, again, Tennant. It's like, oh, yeah, I met a Yeti once.
He did. I believe the Brigadier was in this episode too, right? Brigadier.
This was the introduction of the Brigadier. Yes.
Yes. So yeah, he was in this. Let's
Brigadier
see.
being one of the first carryover characters. I guess you could call him a companion. He wasn't really a companion because he didn't travel with the Doctor in the TARDIS, but he was one of the first to meet the Doctor after regeneration. And
he was a British government liaison, or I guess to be more accurate, United Nations liaison. Yes.
United Nations Intelligence Task Force.
Yes.
Yeah. So what we're looking at here is the I want to say the Dalek Emperor. Yeah,
Emperor Dalek. Yes. Mm-hmm.
This was their first, I don't want to say attempt, but the first time that they showed a central, this would be to the Dalek, this would be the equivalent of the Borg Queen.
Yes. And even the Cybermen in that Tomb of the Cybermen episode, they introduced Cyber Control, which was a head Cyberman.
Cyber Control, right, exactly.
Yeah. But let's see. So that's the Emperor Dalek. I'm trying to think what else.
There's the Brigadier.
There we go.
Brigadier Lethbridge Stewart, as I believe his name was.
With the boss mustache.
With him made me cry.
I know, me too.
Let's keep going. Victoria leaves. I guess she stays behind within the Victorian family. We get introduced to Zoe, who's from the future as well. She's from a
Yep.
future space colony, right? Yes.
She's such
So
a
she
cutie.
becomes
She
the new
really
companion.
is.
She's cute. Yeah.
They had this tendency of bringing very attractive women in as companions. Yeah.
Yes. And unfortunately, though, we do start getting toward the end of the series, and
There you go. This
like,
is an example
yeah.
of one of those animated. Look, the animation's actually really good.
Yep.
This animation studio did a lot of the reconstructions, and honestly, they did a great job, in my opinion.
Yeah. They do look like the actors. I mean, they look like comic book versions of them, but they do look like them.
In fairness, they're working from those telesnaps that I was talking about. So they could literally trace and then, develop the movement, cells from there. This is actual cell animation, by the way. Yes.
Cool. Now let's go on to... this is the Troughton Second Doctor finale episode, the War Games, I believe it's called.
War Games, yes.
Terrifying.
This is a very infamous episode, yeah, or a very infamous. It was more than one episode. It was
Terry Nation wrote it, I believe. This
Terry
was
Nation, who
parts.
created the
Yes.
Daleks, and of course the primary creator and writer for Blake 7, if you guys are following that with me on Tuesday nights.
I believe, I forget how many episodes this was. Was it like 10? It was a long number.
It was a long one, yeah.
The plot line of this episode is that armies from different periods in Earth history are being captured and sent onto this alien world to fight each other. So you'll have like people from the English Civil War fighting soldiers from the American Civil War, or ancient Roman soldiers versus World War One. It was like every major war in human history. They're just grabbing soldiers from and having them fight each other. And there's this race called the Warlords, and they're doing this. And how are they doing this? They're doing it with help of another alien being called a Time Lord, and this is called. His name is the War Chief in this episode, and he is the one facilitating this. He's giving them kind of more basic versions of the TARDIS, but
this is where they start explaining because we'd already seen the Time Meddler being from the same race or planet or whatever as the Doctor. Now we've named them the Time Lords. And real quick, I did want to say JBRPH1. Speaking of K9, take a look at who Netter is posing with in her picture.
That's my Doge.
That's her Doge.
Like K9.
Exactly.
Everyone likes K9.
I'm not the tin dog.
1,000 Chuck Norrises to fight and defeat 5 million zombies. Yeah, exactly. But this was a great one. Yeah.
This is basically that's one of the war that's the Warlord. These are very nasty aliens. I almost called them almost like the opposite of the Time Lords, because they're obviously a very advanced alien race. They don't have time travel technology, which is why one of the Time Lords is working with them. And their whole goal is, the human race is actually the most savage creature in the universe. We can have them fight each other, and the surviving soldiers, we can create the ultimate army to take over the universe with these with human beings.
That's actually an ingenious idea. When you have time travel involved, you could do it. Many generations of fighting can be done almost instantaneously. When I was a kid, I started to write some sci-fi stories about my own version of the Time Lords, loosely based on Doctor Who. And the Choose Your Own Adventure book, The Cave of Time. I remember that one.
I remember the Cave of Time. Had the knight on the cover, right? Yeah.
We did a Good Old Days about
on Choose Your Own Adventure stories, I think. And they even made Doctor Who Choose Your Own Adventure stories too later on. But yeah, I think they were a different brand, but yeah, I just called them all Choose Your Own Adventures. But
so at the end of that serial, what happens is he
has to call the Time Lords in to help. He says, "This is a disaster, and I can't fix this on my own."
Exactly.
So he
And
has to
so
call in
this
the Time Lords for help.
implies or lays the foundation for the whole storyline where the Patrick Troughton doctor and his granddaughter stole the TARDIS
Yep.
to leave Gallifrey. And it was one of those situations where the Time Lords kind of knew about it and kind of allowed it. They could have pulled him in. They could have sent someone after him. But they're like, let's keep an eye on him. We might be able to use him. And sure enough, this is a perfect example. Although some of the other situations, some of his other adventures, the Daleks, the Cybermen or whatnot, you get the impression that the Time Lords are like, okay, we've got an agent out there. He doesn't know he's working for us, but he's working for us. But now they're going, okay, now we need to deal with you. You've reached out to us. We're going to address this.
He's almost afraid to, like the war chief is saying, you know what they're going to do. Now, funny enough, the war chief gets killed before the Time Lords even arrive. I don't know if it's one of the...
Look at it this way. It's almost like you're on the run from the law, but then something happens and you have to call in the police. And you know they're going to arrest you because you're
the Time Lords are kind of mysterious. Like I often got the impression they're not evil, but they're not necessarily good either. They're almost like I kind of treat them as it's instead of evil or good, it's like order and chaos. Like they're order. They're about order. That's all it is, and they're about the law, but they're not necessarily
and order divorced from any sort of humanity.
Yeah,
could the bad mustache man's government made the trains run on time, right? That's order, right? Yeah. Yes, that's an excellent point. All of this lore builds on itself, so this all eventually plays into the Time War. Absolutely, yes.
He goes on trial. This is his first trial. He has another one later on, but yeah, he's on trial, and he's saying, "I defend my actions while you have stood here and not interfered. I've been fighting against the evils of the universe, trying to help people." And
so this is what I was talking about before, where the first Doctor was like, he basically was following the party line, right? Non-interference. The Time Lords, you don't interfere in time. You don't interfere in time. So that's what William Hartnell was doing. But then as things happen, he's like, a man of conscience can't stand and not do anything. I've got to get involved. And you almost get the impression that retroactively, at this point, the Time Lords are like, we have a rule about non-interference. But it helps to have somebody who breaks the rules, as long as he's breaking the rules in a way we want him to.
That's probably why
now I can't imagine a government that has these ideals that they will not get involved and they won't break these rules, but then having a secret organization within the government that isn't answerable to anybody and nobody knows what they're doing, going out and doing things that they're not supposed to do. I mean, I can't imagine that happening in the real world.
Well, this is science fiction, though.
But this is science fiction. Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Anyway, I did want to make a point. They make a point that, okay, you seem to be very fond of humans, of Earth, so we will send you there. We'll and basically we're going to take the secret of time travel from you. So basically they make his TARDIS malfunction, so he can't use it anymore. He's stranded on Earth, and they in this they say we're going to force an appearance change on you. But if we're going by lore now, it would be they forced the regeneration on him.
Yes.
And also, poor Jamie and poor Zoe, they'll forget about you, won't they? Says, no, they'll remember their first adventure with you, but they won't remember anything after that. So they get returned to their own time. So that's kind of bittersweet, too. So they lose all the memories of what they did and all the growth they had as characters. We're going to do the Shaw in a second there, Darth Plato.
So here's, and what's great about this is, and he has a great argument. He's like, you can't do that to me. His argument is, and again, this is before they've established this lore. spoiler, we eventually find out the Doctor only gets 12 regenerations. That's 13 incarnations. And if one is forced upon him, it's like shortening his life. It's like taking years away from your life, you know? And he's basically offended by it. But that's a retroactive explanation of what's happening here. From his point of view, he's like, you don't have a right to change my appearance. I have a right. They actually, at this point, and this is another reason why this is such a, now it's a contentious episode. They show him images of what he could look like and what he could choose to look like. And he refuses to choose.
He gets angry and says, "No, that he's too fat. No, he's too thin. He's too old. He's too young." He gets, he's like,
yeah. So,
but to be fair, we find out later on that Time Lords can choose their appearance sometimes, right? Because Romana does it. Remember?
We'll get to that in the Fourth Doctor's.
Right.
Yeah.
But let's go.
But ironically, what we realize is, for the most part, the Doctor never does choose his appearance.
No,
for the most part. That's not 100%.
Because he doesn't get, because usually when he dies,
he doesn't have the opportunity. Yeah,
it's usually right now. I mean, I think frankly, a Time Lord probably knows when they're going to go through the transition. But yeah,
so this is very interesting. Unlike the transition from Hartnell to Troughton, we don't actually see the transition per se from Troughton to Pertwee. What we see is him like going through a whole like psychedelic,
it's really
spinning.
Cool, actually.
It is kind of neat.
Yeah.
And the next time we see him, this is the scene of him falling out of the TARDIS in color.
Yes.
That's another big change that happens between the Second Doctor and the Third Doctor.
This is 1970, I believe. This is now a radical change. We're a new decade. I think that now there are going to be more budgetary restraints on this. Like, he's not allowed to go on the space adventures as much because he's stuck on Earth. This whole first season, he's stuck on Earth. He can't leave.
So they remove the time circuit from his TARDIS. So the TARDIS is still there for him to use, but he can't travel with it. So what's great about that is, from the BBC's point of view, well, we still have all the sets. He can still go into the TARDIS. He can still do things in the TARDIS. But he can't travel to alien planets where we would have to build new sets. So everything can be done on location here on Earth. He's stuck in what year?
1970.
Don't answer that because there is a lot of contention about what year it actually is taking place in.
I just assumed it was the year it was filmed.
That's what a lot of people do, but there's also a suggestion that's a little bit in the future, but if it is, when? So
it's in the 70s.
Sometime, probably.
They're wearing 70s fashions, or at least British 70s fashions. So
true. That is a good
Europe was a little more fashion sense, I think, than America was during this period.
Probably.
There we go. He's got a cape and everything. There is Unit. Look at that. You got Liz Shaw. You got the Brigadier. Sergeant Benton. There was another sergeant there who gets into trouble later on. But that's pretty
So
neat.
this is why we refer to these recurring characters as companions, even though they didn't travel in the TARDIS per se.
Well, the Brigadier had been in the TARDIS.
True.
But then he was brought right back to his normal spot on Earth.
What does it mean to be a companion? Does it mean traveling in the TARDIS, or does it mean going on adventures with the Doctor? That's the real thing. So
I think it's friend of a doctor.
Yes, friend of a doctor. There's Liz Shaw. I would consider her, well, I guess they would call her an assistant because she becomes his assistant. True. She's a scientist. Oh, wait, did I go too far? Those Autons.
As long as you're here. So the first adventure that Pertwee goes on is dealing with a new group of aliens called the Autons, which is also the way they introduce the Christopher Eccleston Ninth Doctor.
Yeah. living plastic creatures. This is actually very creepy when you see these mannequins walking down the street and they're shooting at civilians in London. This is terrifying.
Yeah, this made me, when I first saw this episode, it made me think of the Twilight Zone episode about the mannequins, which I still have nightmares about, to be honest with you. I have had recurring nightmares about the mannequins from that Twilight Zone episode, and these autons have the same impact on me.
Mannequins are very creepy. In fact, there's a Japanese horror comic writer I like a lot, and he did a manga. And of course, the Japanese are very into animism, like inanimate objects gaining life. And he did one of his horror comics was about someone stuck in a room full of mannequins, and the mannequins come to life.
God!
Yes,
so
it's
you'll
not
notice that their hands like pop open, and their hands are like guns. That carries over into the episode Rose with Christopher Eccleston.
Yeah, but here we go. So this whole first season, I would argue, are UNIT adventures. He is now working for UNIT, which is a science branch of the United Nations Intelligence Task Force, and he's to help them with alien threats.
Yes.
We'll
so
have you.
These
we'll give you a salary, or at least give you meals
in the
or something,
future. Organization of the international, supposedly UN related, but let's just say British government.
British, yes,
are aware of aliens. I mean, for all of time and space the Doctor's been through, and all the alien encounters that Earth has had, somebody's got to know about them, right? So we find out that in the here and now on Earth, humans are actually trying to deal with aliens, and as long as the Doctor's here, we got an ally.
They said this was inspired by one of the original BBC serials was the Quatermass Experiment, and they say
I know, right, Darth Plato? Right. I feel so friggin' old when I look at some of these people, and I'm like, man, they were so old. Wait a minute, I'm now older than they were then.
Pertwee, I don't know how old Pertwee was on this series. I guess he was kind of seasoned, but he was in good shape. He was a man of action.
He was
doctor.
the most physical of the first three Doctors.
Yeah.
He's the one that started all the, there's a
Venusian judo. Venusian judo.
Exactly.
Yes.
That's right. And Christopher Eccleston in the episode Rose that I was just talking about. There's this great bit where he introduces himself. Oh, hello, Rose. I'm the Doctor. And run. And they start running, right? and that becomes a recurring thing. That someone refers to every time you're with the Doctor, there's all the running, That starts here with the Pertwee Doctor. He does a lot of running. Yeah.
And a lot of fighting too. Look, and here we have Liz Shaw.
Legs. Yes, we have
legs. Nice legs. I made sure to find a picture.
Great
of her
boots.
Legs. Yes. Nice looking companion, though really a scientist. They were saying, this is now, feminism. Women can be scientists too, and I'm working for UNIT. So she's I want to say she's his assistant, and the Doctor can kind of communicate with her on a higher level than most other people's been, because she knows some of these things, like when he talks to her about things, she understands the science theories and stuff. Pertwee was
on the HMS Hood in World War II. That's true. He left the Hood just before the ship scrambled to intercept the Bismarck. Only 3 survived out of 1,421.
Wow.
Another thing, Pertwee had from his time in the service, he had a tattoo, which you can actually see in some scenes in Doctor Who, and there is actually an in-universe explanation for what that tattoo is to the Doctor. Anyway, not that it was necessary, but they, that's what they did. Bessie.
Yes, had to have a picture of her. He I think in the first episode he steals a car belonging to some government bigwig, and it's in this style. And he's like, "Can I keep the car?" And he's like, "No." Well, then get me a similar one if you want me working for you. So they get him Bessie, right?
And what's really cool is it's implied that Bessie is kept within the TARDIS, and so you oftentimes would see Bessie coming out from obviously it was
Yeah.
behind,
Right.
Yeah, because supposedly both doors were open to allow Bessie coming in.
Exactly. and you wouldn't see it coming out because it was, on the road behind the TARDIS, and it would just turn around and imply that he drove out of the TARDIS. Yeah.
All throughout this series, too, he hates being stuck on Earth. He keeps trying to get the TARDIS working. We'll get into that a little
Which
bit,
also speaks to him, wanting a car. I want to be able to travel. If I can't travel in space and time, at least I want to be able to have a car. The
Almost forgot to put this in here. Yeah, the Silurians, big episode. Turns out there is another sentient species that lives on Earth. They were only in hibernation since the times of the dinosaurs. They're a reptilian race, and now they've come out again. They're thinking we want the Earth back and not these stupid apes that have taken over the planet, right? And and there's a big Cold War analogy. Like doctors, look, you two can. The Silurians, you and the humans can live on Earth in peace. You can live in the the desert areas, the places man can't survive. You can live in those areas. You can work with the humans instead of fighting each other. Because he's basically saying if you fight the humans, you'll lose. Right. Because they've developed much more advanced weapons since they were the simple apes you knew them as. And I think he talks to one of the Silurians, the leader, and the leader's like, okay, let me go back to my people. We'll try a truce. But then he gets killed by an upstart in the tribe, and they say, you remember when the human ancestors were trying to steal our crops? We created this virus to get rid of them. Let's bring this virus out again, and so basically they put a virus in one of the capture unit guys, and I think the idea is to spread it all over the Earth, and they can kill all the humans off that way. Then the doctor has to come up with a way to stop the virus. And then he stops the virus. I think the Silurians decide to go back into hibernation. They're like, we can't deal with this right now. And then the Brigadier at the end of the episode, what does he do?
Doesn't he nuke them or something like that?
He blows up their catacombs, and the doctor was their hibernation area. Doctor was very angry. He said that was cold-blooded murder. That's what he said. Yep. He said, I guess maybe to coin another term, maybe genocide. And of course, from the Brigadier's perspective, this is a dangerous.
Well, it's the whole idea. Look, the Brigadier is a military guy, right? Mm-hmm. And this is before the doctor finds himself being a military guy. Just saying.
That's true. So maybe that's true. So that's the Silurians.
The Sea Devils actually were an offshoot of the Silurians. They were the aquatic. Yeah, exactly. What were you going to say?
Mister, have you read Darth Plagueis Super's chat?
I did.
Okay.
I did.
This is, of course, we used to get plenty of Doctor Who novels. In fact, this is unfortunately how many Doctor Who fans in Britain were able to find out what happened. Whenever they would buy the novelizations.
Right. So as I was saying, the whole idea behind why they were not keeping episodes was because they couldn't rebroadcast them. But what they could do was publish novelizations of the episods.
See the name on that? Terrence Dix.
Yep.
He wrote the majority of these. I remember this cover though. I wanted to use this because this really shows. This is the first season finale for Pertwee, basically.
Yep.
And this one is a doozy. I think it's one of the best Doctor Who serials ever made. So let's go over the plot. That horrible looking scientist on the cover there.
Yeah.
I'm a big fan of kind of a schlocky Italian horror movie called Nightmare City, where I think this professor goes to basically this cargo plane lands after they were trying to investigate a fallout from a nuclear plant or something, and basically out of the cargo plane, thousands of mutants pour out of it and start attacking the Italian military. So it's sort of like a zombie movie, right?
Right.
And I was watching this episode, but the zombies are kind of intelligent. They can run. They can pick up machine guns and start shooting them at the soldiers after they kill them. So, and I was thinking this should have been a Doctor Who episode. And then when I watched Inferno, well, it kind of was, because the zombified thing, the monsters in this remind me of the creatures from Nightmare City. What's going on?
Peter Venkman fan. Try refreshing your screen. If that doesn't work, then literally close down your browser and come back. That's I literally had that problem because I have a second tab open with the YouTube page open, and I was trying to refresh and it wasn't refreshing, so I literally had to close it, go back to my channel, and open the live stream again in order to bring up the live. So sorry about that, YouTube. Nothing I can do about it.
Anyway, so in this episode, though, there's this scientist, I guess, working in conjunction with the British government, though he's really a private businessman. They want to drill into the Earth's core, unlimited energy. We'll get unlimited energy from the Earth's core. You just got to drill into the Earth's core. The trouble is, as they drill into it, this weird mucus substance appears, and if a scientist or some other worker there touches it, their whole molecular structure gets changed. They become these horrible, feral monsters that start attacking people. But Doctor, it doesn't know any of this is going on at the moment. Like, what he is trying to do is he is trying to fix the TARDIS, and he figures, well, I can use their energy suction from this thing to power the TARDIS and hopefully fix this thing and get off this planet. I'm tired of being here. So what happens, though? Instead of going backwards or forwards, he says he slips sideways and he ends up on an alternate Earth where the England he's in now is representative more like George Orwell's 1984, right? It's this horrible, horrible thing. And that's the Brigadier on this alternate Earth called the Brigade Leader.
It's very much like a mirror kind of thing. I am really, really sorry, Peter Venkman fan. There's nothing I can do. I have seen that same problem on YouTube myself, and it's not particular to my channel. It's a YouTube thing.
But I thought the Green Death was an alternate universe. No, I think Green Death is just a regular episode. We'll get to that, though. But that's anyway, though, that is I mean, I could be wrong, though. I haven't caught up to that episode yet. But here we have, this is Inferno, though. And on this alternate Earth, they're doing the same experiment with drilling into the Earth's core. And here they succeed doing what they're trying to do, and it causes a horrible chain reaction where the whole Earth is going to die in horrible flames, right?
Which gives the Doctor the information to bring back with him. What were you saying, Netta?
Lesbian spank Inferno.
I knew you would bring that up. Yes, it's called Inferno, which of course makes her think of the
coupling.
Yeah, exactly.
This episode does something very clever. There's this one engineer guy from our Earth, and then in the alternate Earth he has the same personality even though he's in this tyrannical planet. So it's interesting that he is still a good character on both Earths, whereas everybody else is sort of like these warped versions of themselves, and he's trying to stop it. And it's just funny how the Brigadier is basically the villain of this episode. These are the mutant things. They eventually turn into these wolf-like looking creatures. I thought they should have kept how they looked in the beginning when they just had that horrible ashen face. I think that would have worked better. But whatever, it's still a great episode. This is them taking care of that world's version of Sergeant Benton. I think he's getting killed. It's really terrifying. And
for the actor's point of view, it's like, oh, I get to have a death scene and then I get to come back later. That's pretty cool.
This is this is one of the actors who's one of the monsters in it. He's hugging, he's putting his arm around Chomper.
And that look on Pertwee face,
that's just a funny. But the whole Earth dies, but he basically comes to the regular side and stops it from happening.
You recognize the bloke on the left side there?
That is the Master. Now we're on series 2. No more Liz Shaw. They do say she got a job over at Cambridge, so at least they didn't kill
Liz
her
Shaw
off.
the one that posed nude with some Daleks?
No, you're thinking of Katie Manning.
Oh, that was Katie Manning. You're right.
Joe Grant's character's name. There's the Master.
Look, here's the Doctor. The Master. He's a master chef. He's about to make some creme brulee.
Yeah, from your insides. He's
right, exactly.
So season 2, this is what I call the Master season. This is all Master all the time. Every episode, doesn't matter what's going on. You find out the Master's involved. Yes. This is his arch nemesis. This was their attempt to give a Doctor Who Sherlock Holmes his own Moriarty. That was the idea behind it. Yeah.
Exactly.
he's an evil Time Lord that I guess wants domination of the universe, that sort of thing. He's just wants ultimate power. There's Katie Manning, huge fan of Joe Grant. She is my favorite Doctor Who companion. She's just delightful. I did like Liz Shaw a lot, but Katie Manning, I have no complaints here either.
Now this is the creepiest damn thing.
Yeah, the Autons are back. The Master is now working with them. The mannequin things. And this was a toy company that made these, right? Like he was working with a toy company. Terrifying. Really villainous thing. Imagine these things going around town. Were they giving out poisonous flowers or something? Was something happening?
Like that?
Or plastic flowers that would choke you to death? It's just it's terrible.
Right, because living plastic. Right.
Living plastic. Yeah. Great intro episode of The Master. There's Joe Grant again. I don't know if he gets a bike in this, but look at that.
Yeah.
I'm a Joe Grant fan. Okay, I don't know what to say.
I dig it. No, I understand.
This is an episode in the following series. We get the Daleks again. This was an interesting kind of time travel paradox thing where a peace conference is basically the Brigadier is saying we could be on the brink of a new world war if this peace conference doesn't go well, and this English knight is hosting at his house, like a member of the government, aristocracy. He's hosting the house, and basically people from the future are coming trying to kill him because in the future they say, you blew up the conference. Of course, then you find out later on in the episode, no, it was the humans from the future that blew up his building and destroyed the conference, not him. He was trying to stop the war from happening. But because of this horrible, devastating war on Earth, in the future, the Daleks come and take over again,
Right.
So, I don't know.
Real quick, the Pertwee finale was supposed to reveal that the Delgado Master was the Doctor's brother, but Delgado passed away. So the finale was changed to Planet of the Spiders. Yes. And it's interesting because even though that particular plot point was never canonized, you always had that feeling like they kind of were brothers, even if they weren't literal brothers.
Yeah. Well, they were friends at the Academy.
Yep.
When they were young, I guess. Okay. And they're the Ogrons. They're the new kind of an orc-like race working for the Daleks, right? That's how I got the impression from them. And so they introduced them in this series. Apparently, Pertwee was not a big fan of the Daleks. He preferred creatures like the Ogrons or the Sea Devils. Sure. These are the aquatic cousins of the Silurians, right? Yes.
Silurians, exactly.
Same species. Doctor is again trying to talk with them, have peace. Come on, we don't want to fight the humans. You'll lose. Just work for the humans. And of course, here we have the Master is of course stoking the fires of the war because he wants a war to happen between the humans and the Sea Devils.
Yep.
All right. Let's keep moving along here. Peladon.
Right.
You remember Peladon?
I vaguely, yes.
Okay, this is a medieval style planet. They're trying to be entered into the Galactic Federation, of which Earth is a part of, and also apparently the Martians. They're in the future. They are no longer attacking the Earth. They're part of the Federation, which was this big thing. You think that originally the Doctor thinks, it's an ice warrior.
Yeah,
the ice warrior. They're one of the things. The big reunion episode, the Three Doctors.
Yeah. So this is the 10th anniversary, called the Three Doctors. Again, this picture was taken at William Hartnell's home. I think these particular, with the light shining up on them, was filmed in his garage. And yeah, he does not actually appear in the episodes. He's just on a and there was some in-story explanation for why he wasn't with them through the majority of the adventure. He only appears on a vid screen. Hartnell himself really wanted to come back and be involved, but his wife said, no, this isn't going to work. He has no memory. He will not be able to remember lines. He won't even be able to remember scene to scene what he's done.
Oh, that's too bad. I mean, that happens to a lot of people. Unfortunately, dementia. That's a rough disease. Here we go. Though we have Omega, or is Omega? Yes.
Well, with the British pronunciation, it's Omega, but if you
big
really
villain in
want to
this
call it
episode.
Omega, you can. Yeah.
He was a Time Lord
Yep.
at one point, and he was the one that helped them basically cement time travel, right?
Yep.
He was the
Yep.
one that helped them, but
It was
only by
Omega,
sacrificing.
Rassilon,
Yes.
and one other
Who's
that
the
were
one other?
responsible for introducing time travel to the Time Lords. Yes.
And Omega, they thought he died, but it turns out he was just sort of sucked into this.
He was
Something
trapped.
happened.
He was trapped in another world. Yeah, exactly.
And Omega wants revenge, and I guess on the Time Lords and everybody. And basically, I remember what he said in this episode. The Doctor says, "What are you talking about? You are one of our greatest heroes." And then Omega looks at the Doctor and says, "Hero, I should have been a god." Remember that?
Yeah. Yeah.
And it turns out he has no face anymore. Like he's his like it's been erased over like he's atomizing or something. And it's just. I remember though the Time Lords basically they need the Doctor's help and they need this. They actually don't need just Pertwee's help. We need all three of their help. That's what they said, and they do some weird thing where they are able to split them apart, and they have to stop Omega. And when the Doctor stops Omega and stops Gallifrey from getting destroyed or attacked or whatever, I guess the Time Lords decide we have to we'll let him time travel again, right?
Yep.
His sentence is over.
Peter Venkman's fan site says, but to see it, you'd never know. That's how he was. Just slipped right back into character. I believe you're talking about Hartnell. Yeah, you're absolutely right. That's absolutely.
I'm surprised they didn't do a scene like that in the Adventure in Space and Time. Yeah, they could have done the reunion part. Maybe that's a deleted scene. But basically the big thing of this episode, though, is that the Doctor gets the TARDIS back. He can use it now, right?
Yep.
His exile's over. He still hangs out on Earth, though. He'll come back. Because, of course, he has to bring Joe Grant back after they go on adventures. Keep in mind that when he went to Peladon, that was sort of at the Time Lord's behest that he go there.
Right.
These are the Draconians. Cool makeup job, don't you think?
It is kind of neat, yeah. Very interesting concept.
I got the impression these were an enemy race, but maybe not really. They just need to be talked to.
Yeah, could be.
I don't know, but there's a cream for that.
Yeah, exactly.
This is kind of the bittersweet. This is the end of the episode, The Green Death.
Yeah.
Where it's goodbye, Joe Grant. I've met a young scientist man who helped stop the horrible, I guess, deadly alien disease. But I'm going to marry him and go off with him. Sorry, Doctor, but it's kind of bittersweet. And of course, they're all celebrating. The Doctor kind of walks off on his own. Remember that?
Yeah, exactly.
Because I don't know if he saw her as sort of like a daughter or something. I don't know. There was a real.
And it also has the through line that from that point on, the Doctor is not good with goodbyes. He never was before that, obviously.
But he especially isn't, because he had a lot of affection for Joe Grant, as all of us in the audience did as well.
Sure.
Then we have to move on. We have to move on to the final Pertwee season. I have to bring up something. During the last season, unfortunately, Roger Delgado died in was it a car accident?
It was a car accident, yeah. Mm-hmm.
And they couldn't do any more Master episodes with him. And John Pertwee actually became good friends with Roger Delgado during those seasons. And he said after that, doing Doctor Who didn't feel the same anymore. So he decided to make this his final season. Yeah. We do get introduced to a new companion, Elizabeth Sladen, right? Sarah Jane Smith.
Sarah Jane.
A lot of people's favorite Doctor Who companion.
Absolutely, yes.
So, Joe Grant's a tough act to follow, but they picked right. It's kind of a journalist, I believe, when she shows up with feminist leanings.
Yep.
Second wave feminist leanings, obviously.
Very, very interesting. She butts heads with the Doctor over that sort of thing, which is just delicious. It really is. The introduction of the Centaurans. Yeah.
Episode begins with this alien craft landing on Earth, and he sticks a flag in the ground and says, I claim this planet, its moons, and its satellites for the greater glory of the Centauran Empire. And he's in medieval England.
Yes, exactly.
Right?
Yes.
And basically, he could probably. I think he's trying to figure out a way to take over Earth in medieval England. Sarah Jane, the strong, independent woman. Yes.
Yes. No, that's absolutely true.
It's funny. He does wear that helmet for most of the episodes. So, a lot of these medieval knights. This is a enemy of the king in this episode, right? Or the lord.
Right.
This is the brigand types. And of course, he sees this alien centaur, and he doesn't remove his mask, so he thinks he's just a knight, right?
A knight. Yeah. Exactly.
Armor. Yeah. There's Sarah Jane Smith. She's stuck in medieval times. It's funny. She's complaining to the other women there, and he says, "Look at all this work you're doing for nothing. It's like you have these weird attitudes. It's like you're stuck in the Middle Ages." And then she's like, "Because she
yeah, exactly.
Joke she made. It was just Mr. Potato Head. Yeah, I didn't actually show what he looked like. I figured that's a spoiler, but yeah, the Centaur
we'll get there. Yeah.
Well, we'll get there in a later season. I decided not to show him. Of course, there's another revisit to Peladon. That's Alpha Centauri, the one-eyed alien.
Yeah.
I think she makes some comment
he's
about...
He's keeping his eye on her.
She makes some comment about how he looks or something, or how actually... Yeah. I guess neither he nor she, because they're neither sex. They reproduce asexually or whatever. But and I think she makes some comment about how he looks, and Alpha sort of gets all upset and is like crying. I don't think you look awful. Why'd you have to say that about me? And he's like, I'm sorry. Like she had to apologize because it was the first time she met an alien before, so she was startled.
Exactly.
But yeah, this is Peladon on the medieval planet again.
The one thing is, you've got this static eye. How cool would it have been if it could blink? Just saying.
I think it did blink.
Did it? Okay.
I think it did. I think there was puppetry involved. Yes.
Good.
I think it's a she. Maybe it's a she. It sounded like a she, but I think when they asked the doctor, said, "Is Alpha Centauri he or she?" He says neither. It's a speed. I think I think he called it an it because it reproduces. Yeah. One of my favorite Dalek episodes is this season, Death to the Daleks.
Yep.
Sarah Jane Smith and the doctor, they're trying to go to a vacation spot. They ended up on this. She's even in a bathing suit. They end up on this horrible planet. Yeah. Apparently some Earth explorers are stuck there too, and they said we lost power to our craft. That's why they had bow and arrows instead of guns. And the Daleks show up, and they go up to them, and they're about to go exterminate. And the doctor covers Sarah Jane's head, and that's how the first episode ends. You figure they're going to die.
Yeah.
And the Daleks go exterminate, and nothing happens because their power's been sapped too, and they are not happy.
Yeah.
They can't shoot their laser beams at them.
Exactly.
Later in the episode, there's a funny scene where the Daleks find an alternative to the alternative. They basically put machine guns on themselves, and they fire rounds instead of laser guns, right? And what do they use as targets? They have little TARDISes. The little police call boxes, and someone thinks the Daleks might have that stuff lying around just to use as shooting range objects.
That's funny
because they hate the doctor that much. Must have been murder if dust got in its eye. Yes, the eyes have it. But great Dalek episode, and of course there's another mysterious alien race on this planet.
Yeah,
got Planet of the Spires.
God, that is creepy. Yeah,
that looks really creepy, doesn't it?
Yeah.
This is the Dalek going up. I haven't seen this episode in ages, but I remember it being a great episode when it aired.
Yep.
They tend to, with Doctor Who, especially when it's the last episode, especially these old shows, they tried to make them big deal episodes. Hartnell had the 10th planet with the Cybermen. You had the War Games with Troughton, and now you have Planet of the Spiders. And the trouble is, there are things that happen. The Doctor will sometimes not come out of an event unscathed.
Right,
and I think he stops the horrible spider in this episode, but it gets his venom into him. And I think at some point Sarah Jane is visited by a Time Lord or something, saying that he will go through a regeneration. That's where they introduced this.
So we were talking about the Venusian Aikido and whatnot, and
yes.
I don't know if it was Pertwee's influence or what, but they bring in a lot of this Buddhist, mythology, mysticism, and so forth.
Which is why I always thought that the religious worldview of Doctor Who might have been more Buddhist, because you have things from Buddhism start showing up now in Doctor Who. Yeah,
and you find out that his his guru or whatever who taught him was a Time Lord who apparently, lived in a, I don't know, Buddhist monastery or whatever. Very, very interesting kind of thing. And this is the individual that Sarah Jane meets, that kind of Yoda to his Luke Skywalker in a way. And he kind of clues her in so that she knows what's coming. So she really is there at his regeneration this time. So she encounters the first time for herself anyway, the fact that he changes appearance, that he's still the Doctor. She's the one then who has to explain this whole situation to Brigadier Lethbridge Stewart, who's like, oh, right, this has happened before, because he had met the Doctor as the second Doctor. And we've lost Boomer, apparently, so he'll probably be back shortly. In the meantime, Kapla, Mark Melnikoff, welcome. I have arrived, and the TARDIS is now property of the Klingon Empire. Yes, fair enough. So yes, so we have the oh, you should be in here. Yeah, add to the, yeah. Can you hear us, Boomer? You hear?
Hey.
Okay. Can I get a 5x5 on Boomer? Make sure that the chat can hear him.
Doctor Who, hey, the TARDIS, the Doctor.
I can too. That doesn't mean the chat can hear him. You're hearing him through StreamYard. I mean through EVMux.
Do you remember that? I don't know if you ever watched PBS. I watched watching PBS after Doctor Who episode. They did that song you always hear at hockey games. It was Doctor Who, the TARDIS, and it was.
Oh, let's go! Exactly.
It was like a joke video that somebody made up. I don't know if it was on an American college campus. They
There
showed
was,
it.
Another Doctor Who related song called "Doctor Who is Gonna Fix It." I'm pretty sure it's on YouTube. Look it up.
Oh no, no! Is that the one done during Colin Baker era?
It may have been.
Oh, we're going to get into that
exactly.
at some point.
Who is gonna fix it? Yeah.
Oh, it's so bad. On the Trial of the Time Lord DVDs, they talked all about that and about how that was not a good song.
Thank you, Mark. Thanks for letting me know.
Right.
And Peter Venkman fan site too. And so by this point, this is what the Doctor Who logo looks like. It's gone through a couple of iterations over the years.
It looked like this during the final Pertwee season too.
Yep.
But this is the logo we know from many of the Tom Baker years. Yes.
Yep. This is the one that leads us into the Tom Baker. It changes colors, but it's basically
which has now been repurposed for the current series.
Mm-hmm.
But that's it.
That's because the writers of the current series don't know how to create anything original, and they sure as hell don't know how to go back and learn the lore. They're like, oh, it's just fiction. We can make it up. We can change it whenever we want to. Screw you, people. That's not Doctor Who. That's your own stupid fan fiction bullcrap.
But this is why we're here, to enjoy the good old days, the good old days of Doctor Who.
Yeah, you weren't here at the top of the show when I said that we haven't seen the Doctor since 2017. Peter Capaldi began his regeneration, and that's it. There is no more Doctor Who after that. So, anyway.
That's it.
But there we go. Man, that was a lot of fun. I'm really glad you came up with and all credit to Boomer. It was his idea to do a Doctor Who retrospective. So,
well, here's what happened. I'd originally said we were going to do New Who, and he said, "Oh, we should just do everything." And I'm like, well, "We can't do everything in like a couple hours." So I'm like, "Why don't we split it up?"
No, we break it up over a couple episodes.
So I figured next time we'll do Tom Baker. I don't know if you want that next week or if you want to wait on that, but just let me know.
I don't have anything else planned for next week. So if
you want to do Tom Baker, we can jump right into Tom Baker. Tom Baker's big enough. I think he gets his own.
I agree. Yeah. And then after that, I think we go Peter Davison,
Colin Baker, Sylvester
McCoy. Sure.
And then I had the idea after that we could do Paul McGann, because I almost forgot we have to count him. And then we could do Eccleston and David Tennant, and then we could end with the
The
Moffat
last two
era.
Doctors. Yeah.
The Moffat
Absolutely.
era. Maybe you could talk a little bit about what got you so upset during the Whittaker era, and then we'll be over. So we have a few more streams planned for this, but like I said, we can always break them
I
up if you
hate
want
the
to.
idea of ending this whole series, though, on where they went wrong and why Doctor Who died in 2017.
So we can skip.
So
We can skip Whittaker. We'll
I
get
think
to
we
it.
stick to our guns and we say, you know what, Capaldi regenerated, and that's all the Doctor Who there is. Maybe
Okay.
someday we'll see what he actually regenerated.
We'll figure it out.
Yeah.
But I figured we do the Davies era and the Moffat era, and
here's a thought. So Darth Plato points out, never saw the McGann movie. That could be a members only rewatch on a Monday night. Darth Plato, you are a member, so we could do a Paul McGann, a Doctor Who. What was that? Doctor Who 1996 was that?
I think so. No, like I know when it was. I believe it was 98.
Maybe. Okay. I knew it was 90 something, but they refer to it as the Doctor Who movie, but it's also become known as The Enemy Within. That might be fun to do on a Monday night. We'll do that the week that we do the Paul McGann Doctor.
I was in my head begging the BBC, like, if they wanted to take a break on who to decide as next, do like a few episodes and do some lost Paul McGann episodes. Just do them. I'd like to very much see
it's
that.
interesting because
I know you say there's the radio productions. I know, but I would have liked
wait
to
a
have
minute.
seen more.
I was going to say that for the longest time, the fourth Doctor, Tom Baker, was the longest running person to play Doctor Who, and had the most occurrences, the most episodes as the Doctor, until Paul McGann, if you count all of his Big Finish stories. He has done so many. There is so much lore there, which includes a story about a time war. I have to believe that inspired the time war that Davies introduces that brings Eccleston in. So, yeah, we'll talk about that when we get there.
All right. But, yeah, this was the first three Doctors. I thought we were off to a great start here. I feel Pertwee doesn't get enough credit because I think he just got overshadowed by Tom Baker. But he was a great Doctor in his own right. And he was kind of dealing with, he was basically during a big transition period for the Doctor. You know, he was sort of like...
Yeah. When Netter and I met Paul McGann here in Chicago at one of the TARDIS conventions, we were talking with him about his time as Horatio Hornblower. Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, I need to check that out. I didn't know he did that.
Oh, yeah. Good stuff. Check it out.
Yeah, we also got to talk to, what was the Doctor?
Colin Baker.
Colin Baker. And he was like, he was the nicest, sweetest
really
guy.
Was, yeah.
He goes, yeah, my time on Doctor Who, they gave me such shit scripts. And
he said I did the best I could, but yeah, a lot of people hated me because
I am. Again, I will be the apologist. We'll get there.
Well, I've come around.
I have to say that closer, like about halfway through to the end, he got better.
Yeah,
but
they made him more likable.
Sucked.
It turns out that their intent all along was to give him a story arc, to have him start out as an asshole and have him get better over time. But there was a whole comedy of errors that went wrong there because there was shortened seasons and interruptions and stuff, and it didn't work out. Yeah, but we'll get to all of that in the future. So next week we'll be talking about the fourth Doctor.
Kind of the golden age of Doctor Who, if you think about it.
It's when most people, and just statistically speaking, because of how long it lasted, the most episodes. So most people started in that era, and that's when they started, sending it out to the States and whatnot. So that's when it got popular over here too. So yeah, we'll talk about all of that next week. as I mentioned before, membership has its privileges. Every Monday night here on my channel, I do a film watch party for members only. For the price of, I don't know, you can't, I don't think you can get into a movie now for $2, can you? Do they still have $2 movies?
I think the last time I saw a price for a movie was something like $20.
Yeah. And that's a $2 monthly membership. That's the minimum membership on my channel. And you get an average of 4 movies free on Monday night at the movies.
They're not free because they're costing you $2 for the entire month.
Yeah, you know what I mean.
Well, it's more
I like to think membership has other perks than just that as well.
But you got to supply your own popcorn.
I have no way to get the popcorn through the microphone to you. I really can't do that.
But you're really paying for Troy's insightful commentary.
Well, I like to think so. It definitely keeps encouraging me so that I keep making these streams.
Because Troy is an expert on these things. He's the Klingon cleric. Don't forget, everybody.
Exactly right. So yeah, if you wanna come hang out with me and Darth Plato and all the rest and see the 1998 Doctor Who movie with Paul McGann, love to see you become a member in the next week or so. But before then, what do we got going? Yeah, we watched the 2015 Cinderella on Monday, and that was really, really good. And I shared in the MeWe group a video from you know how YouTube works when you look at other videos and stuff. They start throwing stuff at you saying, hey, you might like this, you might like this. And I watched this one gal who did a video about that movie, and I swear you could turn it. Oh, no, that's what I did. I shared it out on my what do you call it? The community tab for members only. I said, go watch this video, and you could turn it into a Friday night drinking game. Take a shot every time this YouTuber makes an observation or comment that I did last Monday when we did the watch party of it. It's kind of funny because I'm sitting there and I'm like, she says something about the blue dress oversaturated. I'm like, I said that. I said the same thing. And there's like, would you please don't shout? I'm getting a headache.
But but I wonder if the Sandy Duncan Pinocchio showed up in your searches too. I don't know. Remember that?
I do. I have it on DVD. Yes, I love that movie. Who's a me? Who's a you? Oh, gosh. That was a favorite in my house. My mom and I loved that. That'll have to be a rewatch. We might even do that on a Friday night. Not
might
for
be
members
fun,
only.
like a play, because it's more like a teleplay, right?
It is. It's wonderful. I love that.
I remember seeing that on the Disney Channel, even though I don't think it's specifically based on the Disney movie. It's its own thing, right? Yeah, but
it absolutely is. Yeah,
but they used to show those on the Disney Channel anyway, so it was neat.
Yeah.
So Saturday.
So Saturday, yeah. So tomorrow night over on Netters Network, we decided we're probably going to change it up. We have been talking about one particular film, and then when I looked at it, I talked to Netter, and I'm like, do you really want to do this? We were going to do, because we have the DVD on our shelf, Fist of Fury, Touch of Death, which is not the same thing as the Bruce Lee film Fist of Fury. Fist of Fury is actually a good Bruce Lee film. Fist of Fury, Touch of Death is actually a 1980s Bruceploitation film.
Yes.
It's only 1 hour, and it's effectively a mockumentary.
And it is so boring.
It is
I will not subject you to that.
It is very boring. It's available for free on YouTube on Tubi if you really want to check it out. But and it doesn't get any of his life story right at all. It would just annoy me if I had to sit through it and talk about all the things that are wrong about it.
Right.
And yeah, it is boring. There's not a lot of action. So instead, we will actually be showing the 72 Fists of Fury with Bruce Lee.
Cool.
Which is a much, much better film. That'll be tomorrow night at 9 on Netters Network. Sunday, there's a whole bunch of stuff that Deleted Scenes is doing, including
Unscripted?
Including Unscripted, where he gets into a little bit of a rant. His late night show, his guest is, I believe, Joe's Atmosphere, I believe. Cool. But at 8 o'clock Central, 9 Eastern on this guy's channel, well, not William Hartnell, but Age of Boomers channel, Geeky Geezers, all the geek news from the week that we thought would be interesting, that is a lot of articles.
We have a lot of articles, so we may be forgoing the good old days. Consider this the good old days of the week, because I think
we kind of did. Yeah,
we have a lot to talk about. There's been a lot of shakeups, including a big one over at Amazon. And
yes,
but also a terrifying thought of who might be becoming a producer on the Bond franchise. Which,
yeah, we'll talk about that.
I hope I'm not going to believe it until it happens, but if it is, oh boy, that will not be good. That'd be almost as bad as Kathleen Kennedy taking it over.
It's kind of the same thing, really, if you think about it.
Worst person they could think to be a producer on that. I don't know. Stop. People who fail at things, stop giving them promotions.
Letting people fail up, yeah. If they fail and they lose you money, don't invest in them anymore. I keep saying, if you go to the refrigerator and take out the milk and it's chunky, you don't put it back in the fridge expecting it to be better the next day. It's just not worth it.
It's just going to be there's a lot to talk about. Warner Brothers news, Ubisoft news, the casting for the Avengers Doomsday. We're going to talk about that.
Yeah, that'll be interesting.
It's everything but the kitchen sink, it looks like. But
yeah,
we'll talk about it. Lots to talk about on Sunday. And how Ben Affleck doesn't like superhero movies anymore. So yeah, you got that.
Yeah. They killed off James Bond, and now whatever happens is going to be a reboot or something like that. But Monday, members on this channel, the members' night at the movie will be Animal House. That was the last one that was voted on by all of you. So we'll be rewatching Animal House, which I, let's face it, I love that movie. It's a great one, and
isn't there a mock popping zit scene in that, as I recall?
Can you guess what I am now?
Yes.
I'm a zit. Get it?
Oh man,
that boy is a pig. Yeah, a lot of great lines from that. This is gonna be great. Yes, and it will be great. So, you want to watch a movie with us on Monday night? Maybe become a member.
Fonder's one of my favorite characters.
Yeah. What were you saying, Boomer?
Watch it before the Wakosos bury that movie. That movie is not very PC.
Well, that's why I own the physical media. Yes. They can never take it away from me. Tuesday night, we will be over on Deleted Scenes channel, where we will be completing. It is the final installment of Queen of Hearts, the Twin Peaks fan film, to be followed the following week by the writer and director of the film, who's going to come and give his insights and answer our questions about it. But that is 7:30 Central, 8:30 Eastern on Deleted Scenes channel, followed by the next installment of Blake 7 on my channel. So join us for that. If you were a Doctor Who fan and you don't know what Blake 7 is, I think you'll probably like Blake 7.
Yes.
Come join us. Thursday over on Netters Network, Thursday things.
Well, we're doing something a little different. My guest is not available for the time slot because of where they live. So we're going to do a pre-recording, and then we're going to show what we recorded.
So it'll be a live premiere. Netter will be in the chat.
Gotcha.
Yeah, and I've never done one of those before, so Troy's
I'll
going to have to talk
Ned
me
her
through it.
That'll be fine.
We did it
So
once
it's going to be
for one of.
interesting.
We
we
did
did.
it once, and
Yep.
I was in the chat because you were out of town. I was talking to people while the thing was running of our commentary about the movies of '84. Was it? I think so. Yeah,
I think so. Yeah.
Summer of '84. Yeah.
Yeah,
But,
so this is going to be interesting because if this works out well, there's like 2 other people I know have weird time constraints because of like where they live or like their work schedules or whatever, and I may do the same thing with them.
Yep. Timey Wimey Limey says Flick 7 is the shiz. Absolutely. And the Peter Venkman fan site says used to watch it on PBS too. Saturday nights in the 80s used to be great. Yeah, in the Chicago area it was Sunday nights, which was rough because, it was a school night, but absolutely. And that will, of course, bring us around to next Friday. And we'll be talking Tom Baker, the Fourth Doctor, and big scarves and brown fedoras. And that is it.
Yeah.
Any last thoughts, any last words before we close it out, Boomer?
No, like I said, I am currently rewatching Doctor Who when I have the time. I'm only on series 3 of the Pertwee era right now, but I'm working my way through it. Eventually, I'm going to go back and watch the Hartnell and Troughton. But
where are you watching it? Is it BritBox?
BritBox. I believe it's also on Tubi. So if you guys have access to Tubi, you don't mind commercials, you can.
If you
watch it on
run
there as
into
well.
a serial that is not being hosted on your
well, that's in England.
Yep. Let me know and I'll hook you up, Boomer, because I do that.
I'll let you know. But I think we're okay on this side of the pond. I think it's the other side which are getting the stuff eliminated. Yeah.
Oh, is that right? Okay.
I think so, but I'll let you know. I know what's coming, so I'll know if they remove something. Yeah.
There we go. Great. And Nader, any last thoughts, any last words, anything that I didn't cover that you feel like I should have?
I love you.
I love you too, sweetie.
And Troy is a happy camper now that he's got his Kraken. So.
Oh yes, thank you for all those that have bought me a drink. I super appreciate it. And okay, yeah, Tubi, Plex, Freevee. I hadn't heard of that one, and Pluto TV. Fair enough. Thank you very much. In the thumbnail for tonight's stream, right top center, instead of the Canarble Wagon, there is a picture of a TARDIS decanter. And somebody shared that it was actually Big Al who shared it with me after last night's stream. And I just thought it was so cool. And I went online and I found it and I found out how much it cost. And I was seriously considering using the stream, the monetization goals, and saying, I'm setting a goal. If you guys want to buy this for me, put in a super chat, and when we hit that much, I'll buy this decanter. But when I looked into it, I found out it's a scam. It's just one of those sites that creates these CG, what do you call it, AI images of things.
Of course. And
then takes your money, and either you don't get anything or you get some cheap knockoff. But what I did find is there is an Etsy seller who takes what whiskey is it? Is it George Dickel, or I forget, but it's the right shape of the TARDIS. Takes the label off of it and etches it to look like a TARDIS.
Oh, so cool.
And then fills it with blue fairy lights. And I'm like, cool. Well, that's cool. I said, but I could also make my own decanter out of that. So I've already set aside some YouTube videos on how to etch glass. And
as far as other final notes for me, I am still looking for members for guests for Thursday Things.
So if there's a certain Peter Venkman fan site, for example, that would like to promote, the fan site, maybe. Just saying.
If you are interested in being on Thursday Things, please send me a DM on Twitter. I think you have to follow me in order to DM me. I know some people have had to do that. So if you're trying to send me a message and it won't go through, try following me first. And I usually follow people back if they follow me. So, like
yeah, and
PJ
if we recognize you from here, obviously we'll follow
yeah,
back.
PJ always says, together we grow. And it's basically like for the channels. You sub to me, I sub back. I help you grow, you help me grow. We are a family here. We help each other. So, yeah, if you are interested in being Thursday Things, just send me that DM. Let me know what Thursday you'd be interested in being on. And let's see if we can get you set up, because I'd love to have you on.
Absolutely. And guys, thank you so much for all the ways that you guys support us and encourage us. We really do appreciate it. At this point, I don't think I would continue doing the YouTube thing if you guys weren't, doing the equivalent of, as I say with Ned, or feeding the squirrels. You keep feeding the squirrels, they keep coming back and filling your backyard. Well, if we're the squirrels and you keep feeding us, we'll keep coming back. So I really, really appreciate that. Yes. So, going to do the closing credits, and all of you guys who are members and producers and contributors to the stream, you'll see your names up there, with the exception of Logical Spark, who just joined us tonight. You'll be on the next one. So thank you, everybody, for being here and hanging out with us. Take care. See you on the next one.
Good night, ladies.
Good night, sir.
Hit it, sweetheart.
The neon lights are fading, closing time is near. Whispers in the corners, secrets shared sincere. The bartender's polishing the final glass. Time slips away like moving through the grass. Last call for alcohol, make your dreams come true. One more round, friends, from me and you. Let's toast to the night, to the stories we've spun. Here's to the laughter and to what's begun. The shadows are dancing as we linger still. Every clink of a glass, a memory to distill. Beneath this smoky haze, our feelings they unfurl. A tapestry of whispers in this corner of the world. The jukebox serenades us with a final tune, crooning to the lonely and the lovers under the moon. With every soft note, the end draws ever near. But in this fleeting moment, there's nothing to fear.